good, and I cannot stress this enough, evening. Welcome
Stealing
to
my joke.
welcome to another week of Belong.gg's Arena Clash. I'm Big Hungry Phil.
I am Gio.
How are you doing, Gio? It's been a while since I've seen you here.
Yeah,
there's another blonde caster here last week.
Yeah, I'm not wearing quite as interesting a shirt as Val's was wearing.
No,
But
true. But
no,
I just see like I don't see faces, just like a pink balloon and some hair. So you might as well be the
I
same
don't
person.
look like a balloon.
No, I'm saying everyone looks... Enough of this. We can go over mental health problems later. Anyway, I hope you are ready for some semi-final action. We've got Steelers, Saints versus Spartans, Claymore. So these are the guys right at the top of the bracket. We are a long way away from the group stage, and these guys were dominant there. Let's see how they fare up against one another. Let's go have a quick look at that old bracket.
Ooh, it's looking pretty spicy. So yeah, we see that the Saints, they managed to beat out the Pirates. In fact, 3-0, which, you know, is not too surprising given that they were the champions of the last season. And there we go, we also see the Steelers managed to scrape in there, beating out the Vikings 3-1.
Yeah, and Steelers actually managing such a good performance that we were able to give Coatinks their Doomfist play of the week last week.
Yeah, that was a very, very good clip. And then, of course, the series that we're going to be having later on is Spartans versus Claymore. Spartans managing to beat Guardians once again with a 3-0, and Claymore's, in fact, beating Arrows again 3-0. So these are all pretty dominant wins in the in the quarterfinals that we've seen. So it leaves quite a lot to I don't want to say a lot to be desired, that's the wrong kind of phrase, but like it leaves quite a lot of excitement for what we're going to be seeing today in the semi-finals.
It doesn't. What I was saying about them being dominant in the group stage, the teams that we've got here in the semi-finals were dominant in the quarterfinal stage as well. You know, we saw one map taken off the four of these teams in the entirety of last week's games. So this is where things are really starting to heat up now. So we should see hopefully no 3-0s tonight, maybe.
I mean, you'd hope so. You want to see some really like close action as we're getting this close to the wire and playing with teams that have such a close skill level that you would sort of hope that you're not going to be seeing anything that dominating, but you also wouldn't expect to see anything that dominating.
Yeah. Give me that game 5 is, I think, what the point we're trying to get across here.
I would love to see that. But of course, you know, Steelers are the only team that we're going to be seeing today who did lose a map in the quarterfinals. So I don't know, do you think maybe they're going to be feeling confident going in because it was still a really good series, or do you think they're going to be a little bit sweaty palms knowing that that's the case?
So one of the things that Steelers brought out last week was this it's not exactly meta. They were running on Anubis, they ran this Orisa, Junkrat, Torbjorn strat that Vikings just could not move past. I don't think that's going to work for them here.
Yeah.
So that was one of their win conditions the last round. I don't think it's going to be quite survivable here. So up against a stronger team such as the Saints, don't know. It's a little hard to guess.
Yeah, and something that we do have to take into account this week is that we're now playing on patch 1.34, so we actually have some different stats for these heroes. We're probably not going to be seeing any Baptistas. He only came into comp just yesterday, so the teams haven't been scrimming with him, and we're not going to be seeing the Paris map either, but the vast majority of the rest of the Overwatch heroes have had some kind of a rework, be it a buff, be it a nerf, or, you know, a mixture of both. So we could actually see some sort of differences in how various heroes are going to be played.
Yeah, it could be all changed. But let's have a quick look and see who we've got playing tonight. So here you go, your two teams, Saints and Steelers. So, people to look out for. We did see Steelers, rank 1 Torb BTW, actually pulling out that Torb pick and making it work last time.
Beautiful. Yeah, and of course, all the members of the Saints that you see there, these should not be new names to you at this point. These guys have been dominating the competition for such a long time right now. I remember we picked Harjo a few weeks ago as our MVP because his Sombra that he was playing was just so clever. And Sombra's actually one of the heroes that have received a buff. She actually has her cooldown has been reduced by half when she hacks health packs now. So if we see Harjo coming out on that hero once again, we could see some really dominant play here from the Saints.
Yeah, it's amazing just how impactful that one hero can be if played in the right way, and Sombra moving into the Goat's lineup in place of the Diva is where we commonly see that, and we have seen that from Saints previously. So Steelers have a bit of an uphill battle, I think, because Saints have looked very, very strong on that lineup. That's not to say that Steelers were by any means slouches. Watch out for Ruggy Ram coming out with pretty good Doomfist. I was thinking about someone else entirely. pretty good main tank. So keep your eye on those players.
Yeah, it's always main tank's always the person that you want to be looking at as sort of the person around which the rest of the team sort of orbits, and especially is one thing that we have seen in the competition so far throughout the season is that usually it's the teams who have the confidence to be aggressive are the ones who end up coming out on top, and oftentimes you can kind of spot whether that's going to be the case just by looking at their main tank. Is their main tank playing passive? Is their main tank playing aggressive? Now you obviously don't want to be too over aggressive, but when you have that sweet spot of aggression in the main tank, usually that's a really good way of being able to tell that a team is coordinated enough to actually be able to go forward and take advantage of the fights that they're involved in.
Yeah, I always really like to see a team that is not afraid to use their Reinhardt like a battering ram. Just like, let's throw all the resources at the Reinhardt, charge them through the enemy team, and hope for the best. But yes, we are in fact using the same map pool as we used last week. We'll be starting off on Lijiang, and here we are in beautiful gardens. So what can we expect on this map, Gio?
Well, I mean, given the fact that there are these new, hero changes, it could really be anything. We've seen a lot of, the classic Ghost compositions in the most recent meta, and obviously there hasn't been loads of time to scrim and anything else, so I would still expect to maybe see things like that potentially come out, but you also see a lot of DPS coming out on this map, which does look like we may be seeing now. In fact, Saints look like they're going to be bringing out that Pharah Sombra, while Steelers kind of sticking to the more tried and tested.
Yeah, is this really going to come out from Saints? I mean, there are a lot of really smart picks here, but I think coming up against the much more sort of deathball-y style that Steelers are looking to run here, I don't know how well that's going to work. It's all going to hinge on whether or not Django can get in and make the space that is required.
Well, you do have that point in the middle of the map around which you can kind of do the sort of ball of death
Django
thing. There we go.
Not quite. I thought we were going to get a nice big environmental kill there. You could hear the hype rising up, Django burning through the adaptive shield, getting another fight. Nyx on the outside, just trying to rain in some of that damage, whittle down some targets. Falling very low, and there we go. Enable Django to get in and take aggression out of the fight. And we see Django just playing really passively, getting in. Here's the spin cycle we were all expecting. Put your clothes in it, wait for everything to come up clean as Django wipes out the enemy team. Corelius going down. Nyx knocking Leonid out of the fight. Nyx already has a barrage, certainly helps having Magic Marv on your tail the whole time. And Django got used and actually successfully employed the minefield in that one fight.
Yeah, and Leonid going down there was of course just the thing that Saints needed to achieve in order to bring down the rest of the team, sending Steelers straight back to spawn. And of course Lucio has received quite a few of those nerfs, not being able to move quite as fast anymore as he was in the previous patch, which makes it a lot more difficult for him to gain the mobility that he usually requires in these sorts of compositions, especially if you're going against a lot of DPS who can move very freely, very quickly around you.
Dangerous position for Nyx, but dangerous position for his rivals as well, because they're all grouped up in that room. Hardjoke managing to take one Torb out of the picture. I think very shortly we're going to see Nyx coming in there with the barrage once that defense matrix is down. Not quite able to get the angle they were looking for, but EMP, here comes the barrage. Finds one, finds two. Not quite able to burn through that armor with the barrage, but a nice follow-up from Nyx secures the triple.
Yeah, it was really good of Saints there to be able to gain so much value off the back of a barrage. Of course, as we know, it can be quite a dangerous ultimate to bring out, given that it requires that stationary positioning from the Pharah. But Hardjoke's still going at the team.
Yeah, I'm surprised this fight has gone on for quite as long as it has. And Rookie Ram came back into the fight, I think, assuming they're having the confidence of the Primal Rage to keep themselves alive through this fight. But we have got Transcendence coming aligned from Curia to keep the rest of their team alive. But during all of this, Django just taking that high swinging position, building up another minefield, 3 kills coming in. Unfortunately, they lose Curia at the end of the fight, but honestly, the fight is more or less over. Chimpy and Hardra are able to do so much work to get rid of the rest of the team that it doesn't really matter if you lose your Zenyatta in that fight. With 81% point capped, Steelers have a big hill to climb.
Yeah, they pretty much just got one fight here to try and take this, but Saints did use all of their ultimates in that fight. They managed to res Hardjoke up, who does have his EMP coming online, but we can't ignore the fact that they did use both their support ultimates at the same time.
Big EMP comes in, gets pretty much everyone who was anywhere close to getting there. Quantum doing their best to get it on point and keep that alive, but with the rest of your team down and out, yes, you got a parting blow onto Chimpy, but it's not going to be enough, because here we go, it's the team kill bell, and that is going to be Saints taking point 1 on Gardens.
Yeah, and that, 100% to 0 does look very dominating, but we do have to pay attention, as I said, to the fact that Saints did end up using a lot of their ultimates just to win one fight, and the fact the fight got drawn out for so long and there was able to be that resurrection onto Harjo to bring him back into the fight is ultimately what allowed them to win it. But if Steelers can get them back in a position again where they force them to be using their abilities and ultimates in order to even get through a fight, then that could be something that they can capitalize on at some point.
Yeah, Steelers looking like they're coming out on a different look here, opting for a sort of variant on the dive with an Ana in the backline. Maybe this is going to be more impactful on Saints, although, of course, quite hard to get much value out of the Biotic Grenade when Saints are so heavily spread out in this lineup. Let's see how it works out for them.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Of course, you'll be able to have these Pharaoh Rockets coming down and dealing a lot of damage from the get-go, but Steelers getting that opening pick.
Yeah, it's a nice opening, unfortunately, but Magic Marv was able to get an arrest Chimpy, but Quantum immediately undoing that. And actually, Steelers looking to be in a very good position here. That is unfortunate for Harjo, rezzing right back into the path of the waiting Quantum. Curio there with an arrow to the face does send them back, but it is going to be Steelers taking early control of the point. Curio and Django look to be trying to get in, and Chimpy taking rank 1 talk out. I'd be surprised if this fight really goes on a lot longer. I'd like to see a hard reset, really.
Yeah, I think this is something that we have seen with Saints before in the season, is they are not necessarily the best team at coming back out and doing a soft reset to come back into a fight, because oftentimes they've had a lot of confidence to be able to take the fight. But when you're at this stage of the competition, that's not necessarily always going to work out for you. Although, as I say that, they do manage to take the point back for themselves. They got that infra site ready to go.
Well, this is a really dangerous position. Curio at 97% of this ultimate. Steelers have to pile in through this incredibly tight choke if they know that, in fact, that's going to help. Here's a tactical visor? No. Here's
infra site.
Infra site. Thanks, Gio. I'm glad I've got you on board, keeping me honest. They have opted for a slightly different rotation that takes them out of the path of Curio's ultimate, but has found a couple of targets, going explicitly trying to force out something from the supports. Not able to get too much, but Nyx capitalizing in on the back of that space. Bought by the zoning ult from Curio. Curio already 35% of the way back up. Steelers were not able to get anything out of that. Wow, Nyx, you cannot ignore a Widowmaker. #1 threat if you're going to be playing Pharah. And we're going to see Steelers wanting to come back in onto the point of Quantum, looking for space to use this Dragon Blade, waiting for the team to come back in. Here comes the Nano Boost. Nano Boost comes out, but with 2 down already. Yes, Quantum finding with Magic Marv. There's the second. Django managing to take Leonid out of the fight, but it's not going to be enough. Quantum on a bit of a tear. Just got to get rid of this pesky rat in a ball, and that is going to be the point flipped back over to Steelers.
And I think we really have to give credit to aggression in that fight. Not only did he land that nano onto Quantum, which really enabled him to get a lot out of his own Dragon Blade, but also landing such a key anti-nade onto Nyx as he was using that barrage, which allowed him to be brought down so quickly, when thus far in the game, he has been quite a key member to be able to turn these fights around. But Saints have actually turned things around as far as composition goes.
Yeah, but that's a big hack coming in, catches 4 in it. We need to see some follow-up on it, otherwise it's a little bit of a waste of it. Curio coming in with a curious hero swap, moving over from the Hanzo on to Moira as they pick up this standard OG Goats variant, self-destruct into the back, doesn't find anything. I like the target focus from Chimpy here. He knows that there is the Sand Barrier online, managing to take them out just in time. They do lose Django in that exchange, but when you are this far up in the fight, maybe losing your main tank isn't that big a problem, especially when you've got Chimpy at 99 charge, able to take Ruggy Ram in out of the fight. Saints look like they are going to hold on to this point. We are getting very close to 1 fight territory for Steelers.
Yeah, getting closer and closer to that 90% mark here, and you mentioned Chimpy's really high charge there, and I have to agree that that was one of the major reasons they were able to turn that fight around, as he was so aggressive, so up in the fight, not standing back. He was able to get such high energy.
Yeah, aggressive Sound Barrier coming in though. That's going to allow Quantum to get in and try and generate this last little bit of ult charge. Aggression has the nano. Are we going to see this combo come online? Here we go. It's the nano boosted Genji getting in.
Hacked.
He gets hacked. It's a big hack. It comes in, finds all 6, but it's not stopping Quantum. He doesn't get the dash reset, but you don't always need that if everyone's going to stand nice and close and just let you take them out. Curio secures the D-Meg, but that might not be enough. It looks like we may see Steelers coming in for a last second cap of the point, able to flip it back. Yeah, that's going to be it. Really, really great use of the ultimates there from Aggression and Quantum.
Yeah, such perfect, as you say, such perfect coordination, being able to turn things around there, and Saints have decided now it is time for them to, go back a little bit, but they're going to be coming in with a few ultimates of their own. Most importantly could be the Graviton Surge here, and they will have that Rally being able to lead them into this fight.
Yeah, well, there it goes. In fact, Rally gets thrown into the fight, and it's a nice quick rotation. Chimpy coming in with the Graviton Surge, manages to trap almost all of Steelers just off the point, and in comes Django, playing Reinhardt with the big hammer, takes 3 out. Curio with the follow-up, taking Quantum out of the fight. That's going to feel pretty bad. That was such a good recontest and an Earth Shatter at the end, because you know what? Why not? If you've got it, use it.
Yeah, you just got to send that message there. But the sound barrier at the end there actually was really key, because it meant that even while while Steelers were caught in that Graviton Surge, they weren't actually able to really deal all that much damage back onto Saints, because they did have that 750 overshield working on their side. But does it surprise you at all, Phil, that we're having Hardjode as our play of the game here?
No, not even a little bit. We did say that going into that. We picked Hardjode a couple of weeks back as MVP because that summer. But I like the fact that was like EMP and then nope, don't want any part of that, and still getting all that credit for play of the game. Yeah, really, really excellent play.
Yeah, but I think something really important to mention about this series so far is that it hasn't been a stomp. You know, we've seen Saints, of course, we know that they're a very, very good team, and they're very used to being able to kind of play things by their rules and still know that they're going to be able to roll a series. Now, of course, we did only see 2 maps there of Lijiang Tower. They did win both points. We didn't end up going to Control Center, but Steelers were providing a threat, and when we saw them working together, especially when we had people like Aggression and Quantum working together and actually getting so much value out of what it was they were doing, it's not something that Saints can really afford to ignore.
No, I think like if you've come through your group stage and you've come through the quarterfinals and you have been so dominant that you've maybe not had to throw everything in your playbook at the opponent, to suddenly reach semi-finals and be in the position where okay, maybe these guys are a bit more of a threat than we thought we were coming up against. You can't necessarily run what we saw them running at the start, which was that high mobility, high DPS comp. They did swap over to not even the Zenyatta variant of the Goats, the Moira version of the Goats, which is designed just to be pure sustain in order to win out that fight. And yes, it worked out for them, but you got to think coming into this, Steelers starting to get the measure slightly of Saints in this fight. So map number 2, which is going to be our payload map. We're just waiting on a decision from our teams as to where we're going. Loser picks the map, winner picks the starting position. So it's going to be either Route 66 or Dorado.
So I would really like to see Dorado personally, because I really like that map, and I think you do see a lot of variety in it. We could see the Pharahs and the Genjis. We could even see Tracer if someone decided to bring it out. And it is the sort of map that even if a team were the sort of team that felt more comfortable to be running the Goats, you're very unlikely to see it on the entirety of the map. You see oftentimes some like Widowmakers, because there are some good sight lines, especially as you get to point 2 and you have that sort of the mixture of going around a sharp corner but also having a large open area. You get a lot of different variety in there. But of course, Route 66, in the last few months we have seen a lot of DPS play on that map as well, so you could end up seeing the quad DPS start to come out if we do head into Route 66. I think the thing that Steelers are going to have to be a little bit cognizant of is the fact that so far they've basically played one kind of composition, and it's become very clear that they are quite fond of Quantum being on that Genji, and I want to see maybe a little bit of variety come out from them, purely to kind of confuse Saints a little bit, make them run in a little bit of circles, because if they do just come out with one type of composition, then they could become predictable. But it looks like they've been listening to me. As we see, they are going to be coming out on this sort of Sombra Goats kind of composition, but to go up against Hardjode also on the Sombra, that is where the challenge is going to be.
Yeah, so we have seen rank 1 Torb BTW, who also plays under the name Flabberjack. You may have seen it in a couple of other places, which is honestly slightly easier to pronounce. A very flexible player, so we know that they can play Torbjorn, Widowmaker, now on the Sombra. So just because we've seen Hardjoke be so dominant on the Sombra, I'm not willing to count out rank 1 Torb BTW just yet. Saints have their defensive lineup ready to go. This looks like what we've got it locked in from Steelers, so let's see how this works out. Hardjoke up front, getting a bit of information for their team. Similarly, sending Renquan Torb out also to get a bit of information, but this is dangerous now. They have lost their translocator, not in a position to get out nice and easy and change if that was the plan. They're going to have to commit. Yeah, we are seeing a bunch of changes coming out. We're moving over onto a slightly... Well, in fact, we're seeing the dive variant that we saw coming out from them in the previous map.
Yeah, exactly, and this is kind of what I was talking about, where they could start to get predictable, but then if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and so far Quantum on the Genji has been working very, very well for them. Harjo there getting slept.
Big ol' sleep onto Harjo. Noping right the way out of that. And look at this again, Nyx has been really, really impactful on the Sombra. They do lose Curio in that fight, brought back in by Magic Marv, but Nyx very close to getting the barrage again, and just able to get out in time. Renquan Torb W falling very, very low there. Rookie Ram also not able to get the healing they're required to keep up, and again, we just need to see somebody deal with Nyx, because at the minute it's just uncontested damage the whole time.
Yeah, it's very free reign, and you would be looking really to aggression, be dealing with that, because he's kind of the only member of the team who has a kit that can do, but being the main healer of the team, you've sort of got other priorities to be keeping an eye out
for.
I
do like that little exchange between Quantum and Curio, the two Shimada brothers going toe-to-toe, waiting out the reflect, and there's the hack coming onto Quantum, very close to getting the Dragon Blade, not quite able to capitalize on it just yet. Curio also here with a Dragon Strike. Ooh. Just misses out on the hack.
Yeah, not going to be able to even use that Dragon Strike right now because of that hack. But we're also seeing this nano boosted
Well, here
monkey.
we go.
Oh,
Quantum manages to find one with that. Yeah, there we go.
Straight
Found the somewhat unsuspecting Chimpy there, falling victim to the Dragon Blade at the end, and Steelers again looking very strong here. We're going to see a few swaps. Nyx moving away from the Pharah onto the Brigitte as the whole team swaps over to the Sombra variant of Goats.
Yeah, it's actually what I find the most interesting about this is Django switching off of the Wrecking Ball and onto the Reinhardt. Now, of course, the Reinhardt works very, very well with this sort of composition. We've seen it very much. We're all too familiar with it. But I think the thing with the Wrecking Ball is he has a lot more independence when he's played, and also with his recent changes where the adaptive shield now doesn't disappear if he goes into his role, makes him even more sustainable. So Saints are going to be playing a lot more closer together and a bit more coordinated, and make sure they're looking out for each other's backs.
But I like this. This is clever from Steelers. They've seen that Saints have swapped over to the Goats composition, and they've gone, okay, well, do you know what? We kind of know how to pick that apart. We're going to move over onto some DVS picks, but nice target focus from Harjo. They are going to have to get out of there or fall victim to that Diva Bomb that comes in and finds two. Nyx and Magic Marv going down. So Steelers with an early opening. These changes already working out well. Look at this Quantum, 97, just about to get their ultimate, and they only swapped over less than 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, and that really was probably a kick in the face a little bit for Saints. Of course, Harjo getting in there and actually getting that hack onto the Mercy, which really would have been a great win con, because you want to be bringing down that healer, especially when they know how valuable a Pharah can be. But the barrage is ready to go as the team come in. Is he going to use it? Yes, he is.
Manages to take Django, nobody else. Quantum falling very low in that, but it does buy an awful lot of time, because you don't want to be going in without your main tank. Able to find a bit of space and get a couple of direct rockets there onto Harjo, forcing Harjo out, and Quantum can control a lot of this space, especially with Rookie Ram in position there. Look at it, just swing in and get a power driver as they come through. I love this focus. I love them blocking the top route like this.
Yeah, I think it's great, and one thing that Saints are going to have to be looking out for now is they're waiting to use that EMP, but Steelers are running the sort of composition where they can be quite separate, and an EMP isn't necessarily going to get every member of the team, although it looks like they may be changing things up a little bit now. But if they go to Goatsy, then it could be a lot easier for Harjo to actually get many more members into this EMP.
Yeah, Saints have a nice little toolkit online. They've got the EMP, they're very close to getting the Graviton Surge. Right back there's the EMP, comes out, finds 4. Django getting hacked by the Rank Torb 1 at the same time. Trading back and forth at the minute. They do lose the main tank in exchange, with Django going down. Chimpy with the high charge, and we've seen how dangerous they can be in this position. Rank 1 Torb pops the EMP, but it's not really... Oh no, sorry, it is working out, because Quantum and Ceruleus managed to get the follow-up there. Barrage from Quantum, only finding 1, but surviving, which is still pretty good going. Unfortunately, losing to Curio, and the Shield Bash. You don't really want to be in range of Shield Bash if you're playing Pharah. Brought back in by Aggression, and this is looking very good for Steelers right now.
Yeah, lots of trades going on there, and Steelers still being able to bring the payload on its way, and the fact that Curio had to use his Transcendence in that exchange is really difficult, but the Graviton Surge coming straight out there.
Yeah, but there's nobody there to follow up. They do manage to find Lionhead in this fight, and despite the fact that that was seemingly very little follow-up on that on that Graviton Surge, in come the remainder of Saints just to completely smash Steelers off the point.
Now, something important here is the fact that Harjo now has actually switched onto the McCree, no longer playing that Sombra. So Steelers, they're actually switching things up for themselves here, which is something that I thought they may do, going to be going for that full goats. They do have a couple of their tank ultimates basically ready to go, but it's going to take a little bit of time to build up the rest of the ultimates there. And actually Harjo switching back out now. It was a bait to get them to change composition.
Yeah, nice big Graviton, charging the Reinhardt out, securing the kill onto Django. Nick's falling as well during that exchange. Steelers have made just the right set of switches here to get in and recontest on Saint. Yes, Harjo is still up, but there are no support ults available. If they can take Curio out quickly, that is going to be very strong for them. There we go. Curio going down is big. It means that they can throw lots at this fight without having to worry about it too much. Big Shatter coming in, does get stunned in the middle of it, and this is not going to be enough for Saints though, as Steelers finally push the payload all the way to the end of point C.
I did like the bait that Saints went for. It didn't end up working in the end, but of course, when you have the spawn advantage there, you can change your composition up and then to force the enemy team to switch off theirs, because obviously Quantum was getting so much done on that Pharah.
I agree, it was a masterful bait.
Yeah. Oh, shut up, Phil. That was awful. But you
don't know what you're talking about.
You get them to go off of the composition that was clearly working very well and causing the issue for you, and then, of course, switching back to what was working out for you. But the thing that Steelers did so beautifully to kind of counteract that was they separated Curio from the rest of the team. He was the only person who had the potential to give some kind of major level of support. As you said, they didn't have any support ultimates online, but he was getting close to that 100% mark, but they managed to bring him down with the Shield Bash, with the Discord Orb, and they separated Saints out enough. It was such a panic situation that they were still able to get to the end there with 2 minutes and 4 seconds remaining. I know you're pointing there at the Torbjorn. I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing that we did see Steelers run very successfully in last week's games up against Vikings. But to be honest, Saints are a different level of contender to Vikings. Saints have historically been very, very strong. They've gone undefeated so far in this series of Arena Clash. So I don't know if this sort of cheesy spam comp strategy is going to work, especially when Saints can so easily go and change up things to better counter that strategy.
I think the kind of thing to be concerned about is the member of Steelers who has the biggest chance of bringing down the Pharah is the Torp turret. And so they're not going to have anyone to directly counter that. And if Harjo can get in and just get a hack on the turret, or even get a hack on the Orisa, who can then no longer provide a shield, you know, there are so many members of Steelers right now who could be so vulnerable to this hack.
Yeah, and Harjo right in the back, just getting info for the team, trying to build a little bit of confidence as to how to approach this. Taking a bit of damage from that Torp turret, has to get out again. Managed to generate 30% of the roll turret in that, but Nyx can just afford to stay here. Because of the way Rank 1 Torp plays, they always have this turret in an off angle just to discourage flankers. It does mean that Nyx can stand out front and just rain that damage in, and here we go. This is where they start to see things panic slightly. Yes, they've managed to fight off this particular dive with Django falling down, but there's still a lot of time to play with.
Yeah, and we're still going to be seeing Nyx here using those rockets to actually build up his ultimate charge, even if Saints don't fully commit to this fight, which looks like they will now they've actually brought down Ruggy Ram.
Yeah, this was possibly the worst person to lose in that exchange, especially with, I believe, the hack is definitely going to take the res offline. Harjo has that EMP, just got to wait for this support ult to go out. Got a nano boost committed onto the D.Va. Ooh, this is going to be big if it lands. Tyre coming in straight onto Nyx, but unfortunately Nyx gets 2 off before that even happens, and Quantum dies while the Tyre is alive, so this is looking pretty bad for Steelers. They may want to consider a whole bunch of swaps before they come back into this.
I should think the Steelers will, as we see, there we go, switching things up, Quantum going back to his very comfortable Genji that he is used to, and they'll be changing things up maybe to something that they are a little bit more comfortable with, especially if you want to stick with that Junkrat. His Riptire charge now has gone up by 10%, so it costs a lot more to even be able to build up a Riptire, and you know, it didn't quite bring them the win to that fight that they were looking for. So
you notice in your kill feed there, Nyx taking out the Torp turret, and there's this idea that the Torp turret is a nice big counter, but if you can take it out from range, there we go. Rank 1 Torp getting a quick double, the ult getting in on top of that, but in the meantime, Django taking out Lionid, down goes Rank 1 Torp. This is not really going to be enough for Steelers to hold this, because Saints are... Ooh, no, that's a nice big opener again, taking out Magic Marv, but it's Curio in the back on the Ana being heavily pressured by Sorry, by Carulius on the D.Va, but this is going to maybe be a hold as we see a lot of Saints sort of struggling to get position on the point.
Yeah, but they still always had someone on that point. Even when it looked like they were going to lose that fight, there was one member on there, and that's why it's really important to take these fights in an important position and not just about whether you win them or whether you have an advantage. But we've seen rank 1 Torb on this Widowmaker so far. He could actually bring down some major members.
Oh yeah, but they are throwing a lot at just removing the Widowmaker from the fight. Django going in whole hog with the primal range, which I realise is mixing names for ultimates. Django able to get a quick double in there. Nyx with the follow up, and Saints are going to be pushing this right the way out. And look at this, Nyx again following up on what we saw from Quantum on the previous round, looking to just camp at this high ground approach and barrage if they need to, but they won't need to as the cap comes through. 4 minutes 41 seconds left on the clock and lots of momentum for Saints.
Yeah, I think there it would have been very unlikely for Steelers to have actually made it back to the payload, especially when they knew that Nyx would be able to shoot straight into that small little opening there. But they've actually got a McCree on their team now, which means there's going to be a lot more pressure on Nyx. He's not going to have quite as much of a free roam.
No, but Django taking rank 1 Torb out as well means that they no longer have a McCree on their team. Nyx in very dangerous position, had to use the Concussive Blast to get out, but here we go, Quantum once again with the Dragon Blade. We've seen him be very, very effective with this. Just needs to get in and get a couple more to secure this point. Magic Marv brings Curio back into the fight, and Nyx still relatively uncontested, still has the barrage, is buying themselves a little bit of space, and once again we're seeing Rinston going just for one of the DPS characters, Ringiram going all in on trying to get rid of the Pharah.
Yeah, they're going to be waiting for that Primal Rage to be over, but you have to bear in mind they do have this EMP ready to go, so the barrage still could be incredibly useful for the Saints here.
Yeah, managing to get one with it, and the D-Mech, a bit of help from Chimpy, takes Rugiram out of the fight, but Nyx, of course, so vulnerable during that ultimate animation, and Django with the wonderful target focus, taking rank 1 Torb out of the fight. We still have Chimpy self-destruct, but here comes Carulius. Is it going to be a big one? No, nothing out of that. Does buy a bit of space for Chimpy to get back into the fight, regain a little bit of health, and now they're just going to pressure these shields, pressure everybody from range, whilst the payload makes it steady, inexorable progress towards the end of point C.
Yeah, and bringing that self-destruct, it would have kept people from being on the payload there, and there we go, Chimpy actually bringing down Rugiram right there. It's going to make it very easy now for Saints to just finish up their endeavour. Yeah,
and we're going to see another Dragon Blade from Quantum, but he's very, very low. 16 health, clearly a bit of a desperation blade. Can Steelers get anybody onto the point to contest? No, they cannot. So we are going to go to the second round on Route 66.
Yeah, I think, and if we'll see in a second, but I think Saints managed to do it a lot quicker than the Steelers did with about 3 minutes remaining. Let's have a look. 2:51. Okay. Yeah, so they have just under a minute more than the Steelers did, but they've also now seen that Saints, I think, are a little bit more versatile.
Yeah, but I would be very surprised to see this similar style of defense coming out from Steelers. Now, they've tried it once, they've seen that it does not work against a team of Saints caliber, so this could be a very different round 2 for Steelers defense.
Well, they're going to be standing on the offense.
Yeah, correct. You would think of all the Overwatch I've played and watched, I would know which team starts where, but nope, not happening, sorry.
Well, it's looking like Saints, they're basically going to be sticking with what they know works. Curio there on the Ana, which we saw a little bit of, and in the past we have seen that it works very, very well. I think Magic Marv won't necessarily be sticking with Symmetra unless he's using it for a teleporter. I suppose you never know. Curio could provide a lot of healing, but I was going to say, I suspect he'll be staying on that Mercy, sticking very closely to Nyx's side.
Play Symmetra, you cowards.
But Steelers, actually, if this is what they end up coming out with, this is a really interesting composition going for both the Widowmaker and the Ashe, both of whom, of course, kind of long-range hit-scan heroes.
But I like the thinking. You've got these two sort of highly mobile tanks. They get in, they cause some damage, they cause some trouble, and your snipers get in and do the work on the back of that. Let's see if this is going to work out for them. Saints, a fairly mobile composition, especially with Nyx sticking on the Pharah. Rank Torb 1 gets down to about half, thanks to a bit of pressure from Harjo. Quantum using the coach gun just to get into a nice position to snipe. Unfortunately, nobody there for them to actually lock those targets onto. In comes the Winston, not able to find anything from that, but whilst that is happening, Rank Torb 1 takes Nyx out of the fight. Unfortunately, not able to get the follow-up kill onto Magic Marv, meaning that Nyx is right back into the fight. Django taking rank 1 Torb out, but we've also lost Django in that exchange, and given where we are with respawn times, I suspect we're just going to see Steelers continue to try and push this. Nyx maybe not having quite so much luck in this round, only at 68% of their ult charge. I think Saints have learned not to, Steelers have learned not to make themselves such an easy target. Chimpy so close with the remake.
Yeah, and Steelers, I think it's been interesting how they've been playing these two hitscan heroes so far because, you know, the Widowmaker coming in.
Ooh, the size of that EMP. EMP's seen from space. Follow-up, though, was non-existent as Steelers get all the kills in that exchange.
Yeah, so it looks like Steelers are actually going to be moving along with the payload quite nicely here. They do have a few ultimates to go, like the minefield, like the infra site, and not necessarily the largest damage dealing, but they can cause Saints to play a little bit more carefully. But we've seen these dangerous barrages.
Yeah, and I do like that thought there from Ruggy Ram. Knew where they were going to come in, goes up, drops the mines, completely cuts off that avenue, and they haven't got time to reroute and get in. And Quantum with the big TNT kill getting to that. It means we are mere seconds away from seeing a Bob on the field, Gio.
Bob, my favourite player. Well, here we go. Steelers, the time is counting down, so they're about to head into this overtime situation now, which is going to be even more dangerous because now all Saints need to do is they need to coordinate in a way that just keeps Steelers off the payload for a very short amount of time, long enough for that wick to burn all the way down, and that can be done with a barrage, that can be done with the nano boost as well, adding on to that. It's going to be dangerous.
Well, there's a barrage, most of that gets eaten, but when that is happening, Bob coming in, taking Nyx out of the fight, but Curio takes Bob's out of the fight. That's so unfortunate. I did think we were going to see that coming in with the self-destructors. There's no shielding on side of Steelers, but this looks like it may have worked out for Steelers. Not a lot of bodies left on the point. It is just the one lone Diva of Carillius, and there is a Ash in the back who was not able to get close enough to point, so Saints finally managing to put a stop to Steelers' aggression.
And there you go. It was as soon as they got to that point where it was in overtime and, you know, they knew they had to stay on that payload. Well, the Saints, who actually had a number of their ultimates online, knew that actually, you know, we don't have to be very careful or particularly smart about doing this. We can just go in and use them all. And even though Nyx's barrage didn't get all that much because it got completely swallowed up by the defense matrix being on its 2-second cooldown meant that actually that ability was gone for Steelers then, and the rest of the team could come in and use their offensive abilities and keep Steelers off the point.
I do feel like Saints made that last recon test harder than it had to be because Chimpy had the self-destructs.
Yeah.
There's no way of blocking any of that with the lineup that Steelers had, so you want to just drop the drop the mech on the point and watch them scatter like cockroaches.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, well.
But actually, I'm very interested by what Steelers looking like they're bringing out here, because it's not necessarily the most conventional of compositions. No. Of course, bringing out that Ashe again, and I always like seeing an Ashe on a defense. I think she's a very good hero. Of course, she has the shield break. She also has the mobility and has the hit scan. You know, she's a very, very versatile hero. But Saints, do you think they're going to be coming out with this Doomfist, Phil?
Well, it's a pick that we saw work out very well, but no. I was about to try and justify it, but no. Nyx coming out on that old favourite of the Farah pick. Harjoke coming forward, buying a bit of info for their teams, going to be reporting, guys, it's a Soldier. They've picked Soldier.
Well, Soldier's had a significant buff in this last patch. Actually, his pulse rifle damage has gone up from 19 to 20, which means, in theory, he should be able to bring down a hero in one less shot than he was able to previously. Also, he can, his tac visor has now been able to target other targets such as a Riptide. It's not going to be relevant in this particular matchup, but he has had a significant buff.
No, but Saints moving over onto Wholesale Dive with the Sombra in there. Harjoke, no surprise, on the Sombra. Early hack coming out, gets the Soldier. Look at the tracking. Sadly, he receives too much damage, has to get out of there, but one good coordinated dive will blast this composition off the high ground. Nothing coming out of it just yet. McMagic Marvin. Nyx, though, that's a nice early start, but they lose their main tank in the exchange. Nyx, though, coming in, taking Rookie Ram out with just a casual melee, coming back into the fight almost immediately thanks to the res. They do lose Leonid in that exchange. We're getting close to a couple of ultimates. Quantum, if they can get Bob in this fight, is going to do an awful lot just to keep their team's hopes alive. 99% of the way there. We've now got Bob on the field. Here he comes, landing on the top of the payload, and we're going to see the break coming through onto the shield. And look, they've just bought so much space with that one ultimate.
Yeah, it looks like here Steelers are going to be able to hold it for a little while, and you know, you've got about a minute and a third left now for Saints, so they do have the time to come back and, you know, coordinate another attack, and they do have this really dangerous Dragon Blade ready to go. Self-destruct going off now, Phil.
Yeah, and they lose light in exchange. Aggression, though, does have the Transcendence there, ready to mitigate a lot of the damage, but frankly, you cannot heal through that when you get two quick successive slashes to the face. But there is only a minute left on the payload here, so the Steelers not completely out of the fight just yet. They still have bodies on point. Down goes Aggression. We've just got Rookie Ram on the main tank. Rookie Ram even there, looking to keep that alive a little bit longer. Everybody looking to die on payload, buy as much time as possible. 41 seconds left on the clock. Steelers have a couple of things to play with. Saints, however, looking like they've got a pretty strong war chest of ults.
Yeah, and if they can come in as this sort of monolith of fear and power that we have seen them be so far, then this could be quite easy for them to get past the point that Steelers did to reach that 45.41 meter mark. Harjo, of course, doing his classic scouting here and probably looking for that massive EMP.
Yeah, I think he needs to get Magic Marv in this if this is going to be an effective EMP. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong team entirely. EMP comes out, finds a quick double. Ruggy Ram pops the Primal Rage, keeping the team alive. Quantum going in with the Bob once more, and Cerulean is managing to find a kill onto Nyx. Django is still alive, on point, and key there. Quantum with the Bob ultimate, taking Chimpy out before they can remech. We may see Steelers in a very good position here to take this point. Hardjoke manages to secure the DMech, and Quantum in the back, able to just rein in this damage. Finds a cheeky headshot onto Aggression, onto Hardjo on that fight, and Steelers are going to take this point.
And that was really good play there from Steelers, of course. Once Harjo wasn't actually able to get what he needed off the back of that EMP, that was the win condition from Saints, and it's what they relied on so much because they know how effective a Sombra Harjo can be. So once that was gone and Steelers were actually able to turn things around off the back of that and take control in that fight, they were never going to be able to make it to that golden box of victory because they just didn't have enough time left. They were in that overtime situation where they had to stay on the payload, which we did, of course, see happen with Steelers as well. And that was, of course, their point at which they could just move forward and be more aggressive. You know, they didn't have to worry about the EMP because it was gone at that point, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, they also managed to get that Resurrect off onto their main tank at the end as well. So it was just it was too overwhelming for Saints by the end.
But I think another one of these maps where the scoreline doesn't represent just how close that was, because we saw them on Lijiang, got to 99-0 on one of the maps, I think. We saw both of these teams sort of neck and neck for a lot of that. It was an overtime for both of these teams by the time we got to the end of that push. I believe there was only maybe 10-20 meters left in that final exchange on Route 66. So we asked for a map 5. I think we might actually see a map 5 today because this just has been that close.
I think that these two teams have certain skills in certain areas. Of course, there is some overlap, but for example, I think Steelers are very good at coordinating their support play with their DPSs, whereas something that I noticed in that, not that last fight, but that last map that Saints did particularly well was forcing the positioning of Steelers. For example, on their second attack, when they were coming around by Big Earls, the gas station, they actually were playing in a way that forced Steelers to come down off the top of the gas station, then have to use their cooldowns to get back up. And that's a really good way of actually putting yourself in an advantageous position where you can use your own abilities against these heroes that don't have theirs because they're on cooldown. And so when you kind of compare these two really strong points of these two teams, that's where you start to see actually how their, you know, one fight can really go in the favor of one team and the other fight can go in the favor of the other, because in certain situations one of those skills will come out on top of the other.
That's absolutely right, Gio. And this is one of the things that I love about seeing the sort of organised play that we get in tournaments like this, is that for those of you watching at home that don't play in tournaments, that maybe only ever just play on the ladder, it is a completely different game because you can coordinate stuff like, okay, we have to get them to burn through their cooldowns and get them the low going in order to win. It's not just click heads and hope for the best.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And there are some situations where clicking heads or just being a very good DPS is what's going to get you through that fight. But what you frequently find at high-level play like this is often it's those kind of micro plays and the sort of subtle coordination in how you're forcing the enemy team to behave. Of course, we saw earlier, we mentioned it, when Saints changed up their composition to bait Steelers into changing their composition, and then they could change back. And it's all about trying to do something and be a step ahead of that curve in order to force out a specific play or decision from the enemy team.
Yeah, and I don't think all season I have seen any team swap as many times as we have seen these two teams swap compositions in just that one map.
Yeah. I think one thing that actually is pretty worth noting is that in the most recent meta, something that's been a big decision maker about whether they're going to switch compositions is that in the GOATS meta, it's a really big deal to switch compositions because you lose a lot of ult charge. And oftentimes in GOATS fights, the people who have the ult advantage, the people who have the ults that are going to win that fight, are the people who do end up winning. It's a really big deal. But when you're playing these more DPS-centric compositions, it can actually be a lot faster to build up those ultimates. You don't necessarily have to use them so meticulously coordinated with one another as you do in GOAT. So it's nice and refreshing to see teams actually be able to switch things up because they feel free in order to do so. But we are moving into Temple of Anubis, my favorite assault map. I'm very happy to see it. And we'll be having Saints starting on the attack.
I don't know if I call it my favourite. It's better than Paris, but definitely not my favourite.
I haven't played Paris.
Oh, you're lucky.
Aww.
Yeah. Anyway, Steelers, this is a look that we've seen a couple of times now from Steelers. We did also see them run this variation with the Ashe in it last week, and they ran it very successfully. But I stand by my earlier assessment that I just don't think Saints are going to be stymied by this at all. I think they know just how to break through this.
Yeah, I think... I almost got baited into thinking that Magic World was playing Widowmaker.
No,
Never mind. It's interesting, actually, they're having the D.Va go up to do the scouting, but actually getting the Orisa shield, because it means that the Orisa actually had to wait for that to be back on cooldown. Could have given away a little bit of poke damage there at the beginning, which is what they don't really want to be doing.
No. Nyx, though, not quite able to get onto the high ground. We'll pretend we didn't see that Nyx. There we go. That worked a little bit at that time.
Second
of course,
time's the charm.
Very difficult to get that poke damage in around the Orisa shield. It, of course, stops damage. That's literally its entire purpose. So, Saints taking a minute there. Just thinking about the best way to try and crack this. Key to this, Harjo, already at 69% of the ultimate, manages to take down Rank 1 Torb's turret, but it's not going to be enough, as we see both a kill and a DMAC coming out from Ruggy Ram and Warp. Rank 1 Torb already. So actually, you know, this is starting to look pretty good for Steelers. They're putting a bit of ult charge. We've already 75% of the way to both a Bob and a Valkyrie in this fight.
Yeah, and I think the thing there is Saints weren't entirely sure about whether they were going to commit to that fight. You know, we saw Harjo like hanging back a little bit, and Curio as well, of course, because he's playing a flex support. He doesn't really have that sort of mobility where he can go in so close to the fight, and here we actually see them making a different rotation because it's going to be easier for actually all of the heroes in their composition to climb up these stairs and stick together.
Yeah, but Saints have a really clear win condition here, which is EMP before Aggression can get their Transcendence online, ready to try and counter any of that incoming damage, and they're in a very good position to do that, especially as we've got a couple of others coming online. But unfortunately, you do not want to lose your D.Va that early in the fight, especially as Steelers are starting to get more and more ultimates online. Rank 1 Torb's turret, unfortunately, the victim in that fight. But this is a really awkward position for Chimpy to be in, because they need to get in whilst all of the damage is focused and they're away from their healers. Harjo's in the back line looking to get in here, so I think we are going to see an EMP come in on top of this dive very shortly. Here we go, EMP comes in, finds 4, but Key did not find Aggression in that fight. Aggression there, able to keep pretty much everybody alive on the team, only losing Rank 1 Torb and eventually Quantum in that fight. Nyx with a quick double, and that is going to be exactly what they needed to crack this point wide open. There's just the turret doing its best there to do some of the cleanup. Rank 1 Torb does get the kill with the turret onto Chimpy at the end of that. Ruggy Ram, unfortunately, taking a couple of shurikens to the face. I just like how much difficulty there was for Saints to deal with Rank 1 Torb's turret at the end there. Oh, he does come back in with that Goopy ultimate. Unfortunately, not able to make an awful lot work with that. I still think this has been a very good defense for Steelers, though.
I think the thing with what Steelers were going for at the end there, of course, bringing out that Molten Core and also Quantum kind of hanging around on the point, is it really drags out the time for Saints. So, you know, they've got 5 minutes on the clock now, which sounds like a lot of time, but they could have had a lot more. And of course, Steelers changing things up a little bit. So, of course, rank 1 Torb going onto that Hanzo, going to be able to fire in those storm arrows as well as his regular shots. And of course, the Sonic Arrow now has a radius up to 9 meters, up from 7. So it means that even if Saints are a little bit more spread out, he may be able to scout them out nonetheless.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Saints have their win condition. They've got the EMP. They've got the self-destruct. Ooh, Hardjo has to get out of that, so that's not going to happen just yet. But honestly, look, they've got 5 of 6 ults. They're about to get Nyx's online. This is exactly where the Sledgehammer gets brought out to crack the nuts. I don't think Steelers can do an awful lot, especially without Aggression's Transcendence online. Hardjo looking for position, coming in, getting in the middle. There goes the EMP. Nyx coming in with the Dragon Blade. Quick 2 coming in from Chimpy. So that is going to be 4 ults thrown at this fight. They still have 2 left to play with, and we can see possibly a recontest coming out for Steelers. But that fight was quite staggered, so we are going to see some people coming back in. Here comes Moira with Aggression on the Moira coming back in, and Rookie Ram's Bongo, unfortunately, getting taken out very, very quickly by Hardjo, means that this is just where we're going to see Steelers try and burn as much time off the point as we can.
Yeah, and of course we still have things like this Primal Rage on the side of Saints ready to go, and they can actually be a little bit more methodical and slow with their ultimates because they just kind of have this control.
Torb, how bad does that feel? I kind of thought he'd gotten away with them. Such a good deflect from Nyx in that fight. Self-destruct in around the back from Carillius does take Nyx out of the fight, and as the dust settles, we may see Steelers finally in a position to blast Saints off the point, but crucially, Hardjo coming out of this with another EMP.
Yeah, and Sia is obviously having switched things up here, so rank 1 Torb now switching onto that soldier means that it's going to take a little while to build up something like Attack Visor. Quantum be able to, you know, cause some chaos on the Wrecking Ball, although it looks like rank 1 Torb has switched back to the Brigitte. Be able to, you know, cause some shield bashes in case there is a dive, but if Hardjo brings out this EMP, there may not be a shield bash to be had. No,
that's another big EMP. Gets everybody at Quantum. Quantum surviving in that is quite a big deal because there's the minefield on the point. But in the meantime, Rookie Ram taken down by Curio. But Nyx with another Dragon Blade. Ooh, managing to just slice away at those mines, not taking any damage from that. But ults are plenty as we see both the Sound Barrier and the Coalescence coming out from Steelers. That is pretty much everything from their war chest thrown at this fight. They're very close to getting Rookie Ram's Primal Rage, but they've got to be quick about it. And Quantum and Rookie Ram managing to get the kills they need to keep this point alive. They've actually managed to deny Saints getting the second tick for quite a while now. Aggression coming in there and Rookie Ram with the jump kill. I kind of think that was Rookie Ram's kill at the jump kill at the end there. I think that was stolen by Aggression. Classic Moira.
Slams his pen down. Well, crucially, Steelers actually managed to bring down both of Saints' support heroes at the same time, which of course you don't want to be in a fight that aggressive without any kind of support. And it also makes it a lot harder to disengage when you don't have the Lucio available, even though he has, of course, had this nerf to his speed boost, which means that with less than 2 minutes on the clock now, Saints have got to come in and make another push. Looks like they're going in for a rotation around this left-hand side just to change things up and maybe make it a little bit harder for Steelers.
Oh, but here's the self-destruct in around the back. Finds McMagic Mob in that fight. Hardjo. Bad luck, Carillius. Try again next time. Hardjo is such a key part of this strategy. Has to get out the second the EMP gets popped, meaning they can't really capitalise on anything that happened in there. Chimpy getting close to 50% on the Graviton Surge. Famously, a very slow charging ultimate. Going to be a little while before that is in the fight and ready to go. Just trying to get a little bit of damage in at the end as they retreat, hoping to buy a little more progress. But they've got one good fight and then maybe one very, very scrappy fight to come in on the end if they're lucky.
And here's the thing, is Hardjo has used 3 EMPs at this point and there just hasn't been enough capitalization off the back of it. So Steelers have been able to come back very strong, and of course they do have that spawn advantage, so even if they die, they can just come straight back. Like they got the minefield ready to go to once again keep Saints off the point.
Yeah, and look, this is clever. Aggression staying in the back. They were sort of expecting to see a Graviton Surge come in there. Not able to get anything out of that Graviton Surge, and Quantum though getting 2 with the minefield. I love the placement of the supports from Steelers, always in the back line, managing just to get out of the way of the EMPs as they come in, meaning there's always support. They're ready to go. 20 seconds left on the clock. Saints have tools to play with, but they've got to be so quick to get in here.
Well, they've got, what, 10 seconds left on the clock? Are they even going to be able to get back in time? They're going to be relying on the speed boost, but after Junkrat has had such a damage buff in this latest patch, it could be that this frag launcher keeps them very much away.
So they have managed to keep this alive. Out comes an EMP. It's another big one. Finds 4, gets both supports, but no kills. Rank 1 Torb in the back, has the tire, coming in, going to try and burn out the Transcender. Sadly, nothing coming out of that. Harjo, in the meantime, managing to take out Lionel, and Quantum just looking to buy a bit of space. Booped in the middle of that Earth Shadow, meaning not again.
And again!
Django having a terrible time on the Reinhardt, spending most of the past 10 seconds in the air. Aggression coming out with an aggressive coalescence, taking Nyx out of the fight. Aggression with a quick triple. It's that DPS Moira that you hate to see in your ranked play, but love to see when it pays dividends in competitive play. And that is going to be a nice defense coming out from Steelers.
Ooh, that really got the blood pumping there. And, man, I mean, you know, we've been saying at the beginning of this series just how strong Harjo's EMPs are and how much of a win con they are, but actually, in this map so far, they really haven't been getting all that much, and while they may be landing those hacks onto the relevant members of the Steelers, there just either hasn't been the follow-up or the Steelers have been able to come back from it.
Yeah,
you know?
it feels like this is maybe a lack of communication or some sort of miscommunication, because there have been a couple incidents there where Harjo has been in the back, waiting, ready to go with the EMP. The EMP comes off and then tumbleweed, nothing happens. There's no follow-up.
I mean, that's the thing, is I think they're trying to go for this sort of, okay, we're going to be aggressive, which of course I completely understand, but when your team is not really available to follow up on that aggression, it's really not actually going to do much but waste your ultimates. And there was even a point where I thought that was it for Steelers, because the point where they held onto their supercharger and they used it right at the last minute, and then they got hacked and the supercharger got brought straight down, and I was like, okay, well, that's it, it's going to be taken. And they managed to bring it back. And when they are in these situations where these really valuable abilities get taken away from them, and yet they still manage to turn the fight around in their favor, that's something Saints need to be concerned about, because those are the fights that are going to lead them to lose this series if it continues on.
Saints, though, taking a little bit of a leaf out of the Steelers' book from their defense, opting for an Orisa with a Junkrat hidden behind it. Let's see if this works out for them. We're going to see Rank 1 Torb moving over onto the Sombra, going to scout a bit of info, and we're seeing people here just getting in a position to make those quick swaps if they're required. Quantum moves over onto the Genji, so we're going to be seeing, this is, I mean, I don't even have a name for this one, it's a 2-2-2. 2-2-2 with a Genji and a Sombra.
Yeah, it's, you know, Genji Sombra dive, pretty popular. Nyx straight away bring Leonid down, which is probably going to cause the Steelers to just back out a little bit. They don't really want to be making that engage with their main healer down. Nyx, chill out!
Nyx, they had families, what are you playing at?
Yeah, what the hell, dude?
Yeah. You know, still lots of time for Steelers. This is, they know Nyx is up here now, they know they've got to be careful about how they approach this, but look at the distributed way that Saints are playing in this.
Twice wasn't able to get up to there, that feels
It's a good thing that wasn't on stream or anything, Harjo.
Yeah.
Don't worry, nobody saw it. Oh, Rank 1 Torb getting taken out by Nyx there. It's going to be another bit of a wait for them, as they don't really want to be going in without the Sombra.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is usually when you send in a Sombra, you are doing it to distract that Widowmaker, which is now, as we can see, Rank 1 Torb switched over onto his own Widowmaker, so you can have this Widow 1v1 and keep one another's attention. So hopefully...
Oh, of course, the
but
Mercy
of course
there.
getting the res.
Bringing him right back in, a luxury that Rank 1 Torb does not have.
It was, in fact, a beautiful headshot there. But Steelers actually managed to come back from that anti-nade that they had landed on them. And, of course, aggression going straight down, victim to Harjo's frags.
Yeah, but now that there is only one Widow left on the field, she can do more or less what she likes. No one to contest the Widow, 95% ult charge. And that is going to be Steelers taking point A. And I think that was an even quicker time than Saints managed.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be going in with just over 6 minutes here. You, of course, gain 4 minutes when you go onto the point B in an assault map.
And they've got a bunch of ults as well.
They do. They have so many ultimates. They're about to get this Earth Shatter as well, and if they can land that straight down, you know, Saints just switched on to a Reinhardt as well, and so with this Ruggiram versus Django sort of matchup, if they can get the Earth Shatter, this could be brutal.
Yeah, with Nana boosted Genji on the field with the Dragon Blade, rank 1 Torb using the confusion to get a quick double Quantum with the third, sadly. Django taking Ruggiram out in that exchange. Here comes a tire, rank 1 Torb, what a shot! That is going to be everything that Steelers needed to take early possession of the point, and rank 1 Torb in a really good position. We've seen the minefield triggered, and second time round getting the better of the enemy Widowmaker. Hard joke going down in that exchange, and this is just Saints scrabbling for control of the point. Quantum already 60% of the way next to the ultimate. They've managed to cap point 1. Django coming back in on the Wrecking Ball, but of course going to draw so much focus that they're going to struggle to keep that alive. Rank 1 Torb is permanently getting the better of Harjo in this exchange. I would want to see maybe a swap, because that is not working out and you have not got long left to go. They are 40% of the way to capping this point, owning 12% left to go. And the Graviton Surge coming in at the end, Hardro around the back, is not going to be enough. As we see it go 2-1 to Steelers, with Steelers taking Anubis.
This is going to be pretty nerve-wracking here for Saints now, given that, of course, they were the champions of last season. So we are moving on to match point as we head into the next map. But I just loved the positioning that we saw from Steelers going into that point B attack. Of course, rank 1 Torb, the way he was positioned as the Widowmaker meant he had perfect sights onto the, you know, spawn exit. That's saying, this is just disgusting.
Look at those flicks. Those flicks are amazing.
The spawn exit that the Saints were going to be coming out from, and you know, he was far away enough that actually there was nothing they could do. They were running a Reinhardt, so they couldn't send a monkey up there. The D.Va, was there even a D.Va? They were running a Zarya. So he was basically, you know, had complete free reign on every member of that team who was exiting out of that spawn. And then the only thing that kind of slowed things down at the end was a bubble being used, so they couldn't really deal damage for a couple of seconds as that bubble lasted. But as soon as that was down, then everyone Saints was just free to be eaten.
Yeah, and I don't want to harp on I don't want to give rank 1 Torb BGW
too much of an ego.
Too much of an ego, but the greed in their positioning on the point B capture, either just looking directly into enemy spawn, or frankly on the low ground, just looking for cheeky angles around the pillars, uncontested. You cannot leave your Widowmaker, the enemy Widowmaker, uncontested. It's a recipe for, well, losing Anubis.
Yeah, and of course now Steelers, they're going to have the really important thing on their side now, which is confidence. And you know, it sometimes sounds like emotions matter, but when you're playing a competitive game, whether it's esports, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever it is, having the side of confidence with you can really carry you through the next map, because it means you have faith in your abilities, you have faith in the way you've been playing, you actually feel good. You know, these are the champions, and we've beat them on 2 maps.
Yeah.
You know, what's to say that we can't take them in the next map?
Yeah, and we're at match point now. If Steelers take this next map, that's it. So Saints have to take this to get us to match point. Yeah, it's a difficult position to be in, and you've got to think. We were talking about confidence. Sorry, you were talking about confidence. I was here nodding. You're talking about confidence for Steelers coming into this. Saints have got to be feeling a little bit nervous looking at this next map, because you know they are the previous champions. They've been undefeated. Steelers actually dropped a map last week. I don't know that Saints have lost a map all season. So to be in this position, you've got to be doubting yourself. You know, Harjo we saw be nowhere near as effective on Anubis as we've seen them be previously. Are we going to see some swaps coming out? We're going to see Harjo move over onto something else. And if they do, if they've practiced with Harjo on the Sombra, you know, where's that leave them?
Well, this is the thing, is I think Harjo actually was getting, you know, value as a Sombra kind of on his own, but it's about whether there was the follow-up. And you made a really good point there, which is they could put him on something else, but we did just see him come out on the Widowmaker and did not last 2 seconds against rank 1 Torb. But of course, we'll be going into King's Row here, which is like everybody's. It's like yeah, you know, that's where I go when I'm going home after work. I'll go for a
tasty health pack.
I don't drink pints. Tasty health pack.
Okay, that's going to get clipped and put into an ASMR compilation. I'm quite certain of that.
Well, this is like everybody's favorite map pretty much, but the thing with King's Row is it's always been a Reinhardt Zarya map, and of course with the recent past being as it is, that does mean that it's mostly going to be goat centric. So it's actually looking like we're going to be having goats on the side of Steelers and Sombroats on the side of Saints.
Yeah, and another new look for Rank 1 Torb coming out on the D.Va. Yeah, we often see that as the job of the DPS player, either Sombra or Brig, and Steelers coming in with the big aggression. Saints have to back right the way off. Harjo in the back, looking to just try and generate this ultimate as quickly as they can, but we need to see some of those hacks come off. Got to get one of these key targets, take some defensive abilities offline. Steelers already have 2 kills, and it's tanks, so Saints not looking very strong in this position. It's a dangerous charge from Ruggiram, but it comes up big. Ruggiram, you rat, finding Nyx in that final charge as Steelers take point A very quickly.
Yeah, just under 6 minutes to get to point B, and actually if you compare the progress on ultimate charge of Rank 1 Torb to Chimpy got taken down when he was on like 30-40%, while Rank 1 Torb was just going in there very aggressively, as you say, and being able to build up that Graviton Surge quicker could be the make or break for the next fight.
But look at this aggressive positioning from Steelers. This is dangerous though. Ruggiram has been sectioned off from the rest of their team. Luckily there is a Zarya there with not just a protective bubble, but with a Graviton Surge getting in over the top. There's a kill for Curio from Saints. Are we going to see any more coming out from Ruggiram's Shatter? No, nothing coming out of that. 2 ults invested. Not a very efficient fight. Ruggiram going down to Django Shatter in that fight. Nyx and Magic Marv coming in with the cleanup. Django with a powerful charge taking Rank 1 Torb out of the fight. Saints finally getting a foot in on this fight.
Yeah, but you know, with 4 minutes 50 to go, it actually kind of probably tickled for Steelers. Of course, it doesn't feel good to be losing a fight like that, but they did have so much time on the clock that actually now it's just going to feel like a normal game. And they are getting very close to that self-destruct as well, so this is really going to be a game of ultimates, as is any game that involves 2 goats compositions. Yeah. But I really want to be looking out to see which Reinhardt reaches his Earth Shadow first.
Well, there's a Graviton Surge. I suspect that is going to help Ruggiram quite a lot. Chimpy and Nyx coming in with the kills. That's going to be 3 for Saints. And here comes the chase. Chimpy at 90 charge, and they know that Ceruleus has that ultimate. They want to take them down. Oh, that was so close for Ceruleus. Just able to get out of the way as Saints going to have to back off and give a little bit of space back to Steelers.
I have to say, I love that when Rank 1 Torb got brought down, he had 4 assists, which was from the Zarya, the Brig, the Lucio, and the Zenyatta, and that's what I call target prioritization, which just goes to show how scared Saints are going to be of Rank 1 Torb, who once again is getting very close to his own Graviton Surge here. But Django here, ready with the Earth Shatter, and in Streets, this can be dangerous. Yeah,
it really can, of course. Saints in this very good position. Oh, but Ruggiram coming in big with a shadow of their own, and the follow-up with the Fire Strike and the charge. Quantum, the Squire there, over on the Brigitte, getting a quick triple of their own 5-player kill streak. Saints came into that fight with a lot of ultimates. They weren't able to use any of them.
Yeah, and we'll see here if Saints actually managed to do a last-minute contest. I'm not... Well, actually, no, they may be able to get there fast enough, but of course, Steelers, their positioning is so far forward, they're going to want to kind of bring Saints a little bit further back so that they can be, you know, in control of these ultimates. There we go.
I can see it coming in, and there's a Graviton Surge and a self-destruct. Nothing coming out of that self-destruct. Unfortunately, Ruggiram not quite hitting the right target with that charge. Does take Magic Marvin out of the fight. Django finds Rank 1 Torb with a charge kill. Everybody's still up in this fight, more or less. We are now Zarya-less for both teams. Steelers have committed the rally to the fight. It's going to make it a lot harder. Oh, killed on the Shatter. Ceruleus. That was mean. He had a Shatter and he wanted to use it. You should have just let him play. And Steelers getting the kills. This is going to be Saints very much giving a point B. They did manage to burn a bit of time off the clock, but maybe not as much as they would have liked.
Yeah, I think Steelers' transcendence there was really what allowed them to kind of stay up through such an aggressive engagement from Saints there. But now, of course, as we mentioned a number of times, they're going to be watching out for Hardjote's EMP, because with these sorts of compositions that are being run, because all the teams are so close together, once the EMP is done, the Saints are going to be there to follow up on it.
Yeah, but there we go. Lionid was right out the way in the back, comes swarming in with the sound barrier, meaning that very much nothing happened as a result of that EMP. That's another EMP from Hardjote that just was not followed up on. In this case, yes, due to intervention from Lionid, but Steelers still up in the fight. Magic Marv down, rank 1 top, with the high charge, with the Graviton Surge ready to go. Steelers looking very, very strong, borderline unstoppable here.
Yeah, and Saints, of course, they only have that Transcendence, as you say. They've got to wait for Curio to even come back. But the Graviton Surge coming out, just holding Saints all the way back. Not even going to be able to try and contest, as Steelers take such a dominant hold on King's Row here with 3 minutes 04 remaining.
That's a lot of time left on this map. It very seldom gets there out of overtime. And, you know, we came into this map going, oh yeah, well, look, of course, not in this map, coming into this match going, oh yeah, look, of course, Saints are the champions, oh yeah, look, Saints have taken Lijiang. And since Lijiang, they haven't really had much of a look in.
I have to be honest, one of the things I said earlier in the series about Steelers, they're showing their comfort picks, they could become predictable. Well, at this point, they just know Hardjote's going to be on the Sombra.
Yeah.
And, you know, even that alone, they don't have the Brigitte, so they don't have that armor available to them. They don't have the shield bash, and so they are, you know, relinquishing those abilities and that hero in favor of relying on the fact that Hardjote is such a good Sombra, and nonetheless, Steelers are still being able to hold them back. Now, Saints, they are going to be... Oh, excuse me, Steelers are going to be coming in with their own defense here, and it's actually looking like they may be running their own Sombra with Torb, or rather, rank 1 Torb, by the way.
There we go, rank 1, by the way. Just in case you were unaware. Hardjote moving over onto the Widowmaker. This is another look we've seen from Hardjote before. Unfortunately, was definitely gotten the better of by rank 1 Torb. We're going to keep talking about him. But, you know, this is... it's a very Chengdu Hunters style composition coming out from Saints. Maybe Steelers aren't expecting that. Maybe this will work out for them.
I do quite like seeing DPS compositions on the attack on King's Row. The only thing is if the, you know, more tank heavy composition backs up a little bit to try and encourage the DPS composition to, or the DPS team to move forward a bit, as soon as they actually get down to touch onto the point, then they can be in trouble.
Yeah, not quite sure what Hardjote was doing down on the ground there, though. That's a very unfortunate position for your Widowmaker to be in. They are buying a bit of space. Nyx, once again, over on the Pharah. We've seen this pay out time and time and again for them. Already halfway through to their ultimate, with Magic Marv there just to provide the pocket. They're able to take so many different angles of attack that this sort of deathbally composition that Steelers have is not finding the value it may well have done against a more static composition. Nyx gets the kill that opens up the fight. Hardjote follows up, taking Carulius in out of the fight. Nyx at 74% and just more or less uncontested. Really only the Sombra there that can deal with them, and there are 2 minutes. That was almost casual the way Nyx there just turned and boom, right into Quantum.
Well, we saw there that Steelers did have to use their nade to keep a number of the members up, and that's kind of the thing when you run the Lucio with the Ana is Lucio's AoE healing is not all that strong. It does something like 16 HPS, which really isn't enough to keep up a team, and so that means Ana does have to use those abilities, and as soon as that nade is gone, then that was when Saints were able to actually apply some more aggression and bring down the team fairly easily. There has been a bit of a switch up here, so the ultimates are going to be going back down to the lower numbers as they start to get built up in the next phase of the fight.
Yeah, and really the only similarity here is that we've got Leonid and Curio both relatively close to their respective support ultimates. Rookie Ram able to just take a fairly aggressive position here and use that Tesla cannon to burst through the shields, do a lot of damage, more or less uncontested. Steelers on the back foot, Saints pushing in relentlessly here. There's Leonid using the sound barrier to keep their team alive. Quantum throws the TNT into the fight, but it's not found anything. Chimpy in the meantime taking Rookie Ram in out of the fight. Is this going to stabilise? No, it looks to me like Saints still have the advantage here. We have got a couple of ultimates coming online. We've got the Transcendence, we've got the Rally. We've very nearly, well, we're not going to have a chance to use it because of the amount of chase being thrown onto them, but we now have Hardjote's ultimate, and we've also got, well, in fact, no, Rank 1 Top has used their ultimate. I was looking at the wrong player entirely, my bad.
It seems to me that Steelers were very, very comfortable running the aggressive attack, but as soon as they are then faced with aggressive attack from the opposing team, they're a little bit more volatile. You know, they're a little bit more. I don't know, they're easier to crack.
Yeah.
And we see them backing up a lot rather than moving forward and actually pushing in their own aggression. And this is why Saints are being able to move forward quite quickly.
Yeah, and Saints have a lot to play with here. They've got 5 ultimates. They've just used the rally. Here's a Graviton Surge. Gets eaten by Carulius. Diva Bomber in over the top. Nothing doing from that, I'm afraid. We've got an Earth Shatter online. There's another self-destruct coming in. It's a nice boop there, taking the Reinhardt out of the way, allowing that self-destruct to find Aggression and Leonid in the fight. And this is a completely turned around Saints. They decided they're not going to take it anymore, and they're going to come rolling into this point. And it looks like they may even come in with a better time bank than Steelers did, unless Steelers can get in very quickly.
Yeah, they may be able to, but it doesn't really look all that likely. Actually having to bring out the Transcendence there because of the speed boost you get, but the Earth Shatter coming out.
Yeah, it's maybe not the best investment of ultimates. Harjo and the back foot there manages to take out the mech of Carulius. Carulius still there, able to keep it alive slightly, but there's just so much aggression, so much momentum that Saints were able to roll that right the way through.
And that means, once again, we will be going into the next round. I think something really important that Saints did on their attack, which Steelers didn't, was that while they were playing aggressively, they always had the maximum speed on the payload. So they always had at least 3 people in the team on the payload, whereas what Steelers did was they left 1 person on the payload and then the rest of the team went forward. And that meant that their payload didn't move anywhere near as fast as Saints did on their attack. And while they did finish with a really good time bank, that was just one thing that Saints were able to make even faster for themselves, giving them this 1-minute advantage here.
Yeah, but to be honest, at this level of play, 1 minute time back difference is not the be all and end all. I've seen teams come through with a time bank of 0 and manage to push it all the way to the end.
Yeah, and sometimes you see time banks of like 6-7 minutes and just go to overtime and die.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, if you can pick just the right thing that stimmies your opponent, then great, you know. Just throw all of your resources at a Bastion, keep the Bastion alive and hope for the best. But it looks like neither of our teams opting for my high-level strategy there.
Yeah, you know what's actually interesting here is Saints aren't going to be going for the Sombra. In fact, they put Harjode onto that Zarya, going to be throwing the Plasma Mortars instead of the hacks. And Nick's going to be placed there into Brigitte Gel. He's had his DPS time today. He's going back to the Shield Bash ways.
Yeah, you've been saving up your DPS time all season, and now it's over and done with.
You've used your DPS points. You've spent them all.
Yeah, so Steelers coming in with the Zenyatta variant of Goats. It is in fact the direct mirror matchup, so here is where we see which of these two teams is best in the direct mirror matchup. Aggression from Steelers as they come pushing right in, and I like that displacement coming in from Lionid, getting in behind the Ryan Shield, move them out of position. They are having to back up now as Saints rubber band back in to deal with the aggression. Steelers again giving up a bit of space. We're coming back in, and Leonid finds Django. Django very low in that fight, and there's the following D-Mech. Chimpy going down. There's no 2000 HP shield to soak up all of this beautiful damage. Rank 1 Torb BTW coming in 70% of the way to the ultimate, already on the back of, let's call that 1.5 team fights, and it is go time as Steelers press up, looking for these final few kills, that final little bit of ultimate charge in the fight.
Yeah, and I think something so important to actually pay attention to here is the fact that Saints are relying on Django. They're following him very, very closely. In fact, looking like they're going to be making a bit of a push up, but caught in this Graviton Surge here.
Beautiful Graviton Surge, of course, because you don't get the extra time when you capture the point when you're in this level of play. Once you're in round 2, then frankly that's quite a good investment of the Graviton Surge, just to lock them out of the point. Saints going to take a step back and regroup.
Yeah, definitely. And what I was going to say is that Steelers are actually not playing around Ruggy Ram quite as much as Saints are playing around Django. We saw that Ruggy Ram was still on 17% ult charge, while Django was actually on 55%. And the placement of their Discord Orb was going onto the enemy D.Va instead of the enemy Reinhardt, so it's a very interesting playstyle that the Steelers are bringing out.
Yeah, there's another Graviton Surge, and we're going to see Django get in and shatter in over the top. Here's a self-destruct. Ruggy Ram goes down, allowing Chimpy to get the kill, and the D-Mech aggression and Carulius' mech going down. Curio with the follow-up, and it's go, go, go. Chase down those last few kills before they can get to spawn. Yet it doesn't matter if you fire into the Zarya bubble because she dead.
And now with just a minute to go, this is going to be really dangerous waters for Steelers. They're going to be really relying on rank 1 Torb, by the way, to be getting a really successful Graviton Surge here, which of course could be eaten by Chimpy. But other than that, besides the self-destruct, they don't really have all that much to rely on. They're very low on a number of their ultimates, while Saints, they do have the Transcendence nearly, they do have the Sound Barrier, and they do have that Rally.
Yeah, so it's going to have to be the biggest combo between the self-destruct. No, the Graviton Surge comes in, self-destruct round the back, goes wide, doesn't find anything. Too many shields on board for Saint, and that only costs them 1 support. Oh, they've still got Magic Marv Sound Barrier ready to go in this fight. Steelers getting a little bit of progress on the payload, and at this point, every centimetre counts. Harjo, though, about to come up on that Graviton Surge. If they can get it in around the D.Va, which they do. Self-destruct not on board yet for Chimpy. Transcender's coming out for aggression, keeping the team alive, but they do lose Rookie Ram in that exchange. But honestly, at this point, you've just got to throw everything you have at the point, keep it alive for as long as possible, and hope for a minor miracle. Carulia's a long way from getting that self-destruct. Chimpy throws theirs in over the top, takes out rank 1 Tor, BTW. Things are looking dire for Steelers here. They are deep into overtime. Django going ham with the hammer, Harjo with the follow-up, and there's some Zenyatta fireworks just to round out the fight.
And ultimately, their Saints really took control over the way the Steelers could use their support ultimates. The Earth Shadow that came out did send Leon straight back into the spawn, and he was holding on to, of course, that Sound Barrier, which then didn't become available, which meant the Steelers, they had to go in with the rally. Not really going to be quite enough to sustain them through a fight like that when they have an entire 6-man team up in their face. So they did manage to get it some way into that streets phase. So Saints do have well, I was going to say a challenge, but they do have, you know, to bring it some way. It's not just going to be about getting 1 tick. But with 4 minutes on the clock and with the level of aggression that they showed on their previous attack round, this could be in their favour.
Steelers, bless them, they love this Orisa pick. They love this double sniper bunker comp. And, you know, it worked out for them. It's worked out for them previously. They clearly think, or maybe coming in on the back of that, they don't think they're the better of the 2 GOAT teams, so they're deciding, well, let's just do what we know. See if they can make it work out here on the streets of King's Row. Saints looking like another DPS comp for them, though.
I think also after 3 rounds of GOATs, both these teams are probably going to be thinking, okay, let's do something different and throw them off. So actually, we find here Steelers with this double sniper could actually be quite effective against Nyx on the Pharah. We've seen this Pharah Mercy with Nyx and Magic Marv. If they can bring him down, then it could actually be something very, very good for Steelers. But, of course, if it does turn out to be a disaster for Saints, they can just turn around and change things. Yeah,
which it looks like they are going to do. They're going, okay, yeah, there's too much long-range damage. Guys, what have we got that we know can work against this sort of DPS comp? Any thoughts?
Goats.
Just go Goats forehead. Here we go. Saint. Oh, Nyx gets domed, almost going down there. Lots of early ult charge for rank 1 Torb coming in as Saints opt for the rotation through round into Hotel. Curio, the sniper that nobody knew about, taking rank 1 Torb out of the fight. They do have a res online. Quantum getting heavily pressured by the enemy D.Va. Rank 1 Torb is going to be coming back on the Hanzo. Maybe a good pick here, but Champy secures the DMEG onto Carulia's, and this is looking good for Saints. They've already got 1 tick captured as Chimpy, Magic Marv, and Django get a quick 1, 2, 3 in succession. That's got to be Saints taking that. I can't see Steelers coming back from this.
Well, the really difficult thing about playing a composition like that of Steelers against an attacking GOATS composition is the GOATS composition don't even have to come to you to deal damage on you, because if they go straight to the point, then you're going to have to go down to actually stop them from getting any progress on that point, which we did see their D.Va do. Ceruleus go down and try and have a little bit of a fight. So you start either sending 1 person in or a couple of people in, and at some point you have to relinquish your position to go down onto that point to have a fight. And at that point, you're playing heroes in a position that they're not supposed to be played in. It's just not going to work out for you.
Yeah, and this is really bad luck for Steelers. Oh, but kills starting to come in, but they're so far behind the ultimate charge, they haven't got anything close to an Earth Shatter. But Steelers have actually found the go pedal as they take out Saints on their aggressive push. Wow, Steelers come bouncing right the way back.
Yeah, but the thing here is Saints able to gain some more ultimate charge in that fight because it was such close quarters. Didn't actually use any of their ultimates, which means they'll be coming into the next fight with potentially 6 on the board as they get closer and closer to the sound barrier, the graviton surge, and the self-destruct.
Yeah, but we see the payload move right back into this archway choke, and this is notoriously a very difficult point to recontest from. But no, Steelers are aware of what Saints have on board, and they aggress in. That boop was amazing. Rookie Ram going flying right the way up. Here's a self-destruct in over the top. 5-3! Rookie Ram drops the shield. 3 go down. They lose the mech. Follow-up taking Quantum out of the fight. This has got to be Saints' fight coming in. We are going to be going all the way to map number 5 as the team kill flashes up on screen.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to be it there for the Steelers, which was so unfortunate for them. They did bring out the Transcendence, which was great against the Earthshatter, great against the Graviton Surge, but providing just 300 heals per second, it is nothing against a 1,000 damage self-destruct. Here we are. I bet this is what we're going to be seeing now. Chimpy coming in, getting this 3k. Absolutely beautiful. They didn't have the sound barrier ready to go, so there was nothing they could do to really protect themselves. Stuck in that Graviton Surge, no protection. It did not take long for the entire team to just be wiped out.
Yeah, and of course the unsung hero of that exchange was Magic Marv, just away in the corner of that play of the game, just boop, sending the Reinhardt away from the rest of the team, completely voiding any use of that shielding. But I asked for it at the start. I asked for a map 5. We are seeing a map 5. I think this might be the first map 5 of the entire season. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think we've been this far so far this season.
My God.
And I have cast every game this season.
Well, I mean, one thing that we do have to bear in mind going into this map 5 is it will be a control map. It's going to be Ilios. Now, Saints, they won the first control map.
They did, but at the same time, you know, we were ready to sort of count out Steelers after that first control map, and they've come back and shown incredible form across a range of maps. They've clearly warmed up. They know what their comfort picks are. They know how to make them work against both the DPS comp and the GOATS comp that we saw coming out from Saints. So I honestly don't know how to call this fight. We may see this go all the way to 1-1 and then 99-99 in the final map. Well, keep us on the edge of our seats.
What I think I'd like to see is it really kind of depends on which points are going to come out, because if it's Ruins, for example, I want to see the double sniper, or rather a Widow versus Widow. I don't want to be seeing Goats versus Goats, which we have been seeing on Ruins for the last few months, and where it's always very typically been a Widowmaker map, and I think it would be a really, really great fun to watch if they did that. But of course, if we see something like we've seen Steelers really taking preference to this bunker comp on certain maps. Now, Orisa is typically a very, very good hero on You can use the hold, but you can also use that round shield to be able to cordon off one of the corners for yourself and be able to really bunker down and hold your own. And of course, we frequently see McCree's, which is something we've seen today. We've seen Nyx coming out on that, but we've also seen the Pharah. So there is a lot of opportunity.
It's almost like there are 30 heroes for them to choose from. 29.
Shut up.
29 heroes.
What my point is these maps on Ilios have very well-defined playstyles that are associated with them.
There's like a mini meta associated with this map.
Ilios has its own meta. And so that means that, judging by what we've seen from these teams so far today, depending on which points we see in Ilios, we could see it be in favour of one team or another.
So I think this is a map set that is going to be won before anybody even leaves spawn. Because the statistics are, if you win the first fight, you've got something like a 67% chance of winning that map.
Yeah.
So if you can successfully guess what your opponent is going to run and come out with the ideal counter, that's it, you've won before you've left spawn.
I think this is why we frequently actually end up just seeing the GOATS compositions on what are they called? Control maps, that's the one. On control maps, because, you know, that way it's not necessarily going to be mind gaming, it's going to be about the sheer brute force and how well you can coordinate your abilities with one another rather than actually having to predict the composition in the first place. But obviously, as things have been changing recently, we have seen a number of different composition. So I really don't believe it's going to just be Goats versus Goats, and I am very interested to see where the strengths of these two teams lie. It looks like we're going to be starting out on Lighthouse.
Yeah, well, it's, I think that's the only one we didn't talk about. We talked about Ruins Lighthouse.
Well, I want to see some Pharah and could be Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, we've seen both teams capable of running that Wrecking Ball.
Oh,
well,
no, Farah.
yeah, we're going to see that Farah. I'm fully expecting this to be what we. I don't think there are any troll picks in this. We've got Saints coming out on the Zenyatta variant of Goat. Steelers opting for a DPS composition. I don't know how I feel about that soldier in Steelers lineup though.
Yeah, I'm not so much a fan of the soldier. You know, we said earlier he has received a buff, and you know, having the biotic field means he can provide his own healing. And of course, going against a Goat's composition, he's not going to be vulnerable to being dived, but it's going to be about whether or not he can get enough damage in on the enemy team. You know, if Saints manage to take control of the point and he's up on one of these high grounds, he's going to sort of be wanting to stay there.
Yeah, Steelers though taking that high ground. They've got that long range DPS in their sights. Carulius though, along with Rugiram, looking to go down. Rugiram takes the Discord orb to the face, going to have to back out. He gives Saints a little bit of control of the point, get rid of that. Rank 1 Torb coming for a reposition, and again, I like this approach of Steelers, already 42% of the way to the ult charge for Rank 1 Torb, able to just pile in this damage. No kills coming out yet. I think this may come down to who can get the first ultimate and use it best. So far, it seems like, in fact, Saints have capped the point here, but no kills on board for either team so far. This has all been about poke damage.
Yeah, and the soldier is actually building up this ult charge very quickly, immediately bringing out the tag visor here. Going to be
huge.
taking down Curio, and Chimpy's mech also down as well.
Yeah, that was such a good play. Took out the Diva mech and immediately popped that attack visor, and it was huge on the back of that. That was 3 from that attack visor. Django getting very close to getting booped off the edge. Quantum managing to secure the kill, but Carulius goes down. Django using the Earth Shadow. So unfortunate. They have got 36% of the point, but Steelers are going to retake control, and Steelers have a huge ult advantage here.
Yeah, they really do, and they're getting so close to also getting that self-destruct on the board as well. And of course, having those DPS heroes means they can just kind of stand up on these high grounds here and be able to rain in some damage onto the Goat's composition as it comes in. Meanwhile, they can't actually come up to them.
Oh, we've got another Bob on the field. Here he goes, right away. And he got the nano boost. Nano boosted Bob. Rugiram with the primal rage takes Django out of the fight. There is almost no shielding. And the Bob is able to just get into so much damage. Carulius again. Oh, Magic Marv, how could you do such a thing to Bob? We're going to see a hard reset, I think. No, it's not a hard reset. It's just Quantum with the coach gun, taking a quick double. Hardjo does opt to take the hard reset as Steelers take the lead in terms of point control.
I saw the Bob there just kind of lingering in that window. I was thinking he's going down. And of course, Magic Marv managed to get in that boot. But of course, Bob having 1200 HP meant that that's a 7th member with a lot of health that Saints had to focus on, and so Steelers were able to actually get in and be aggressive. But here they are, Saints making their next engage.
Yeah, Carulius throws the self-destruct in over the top, and it does take out Hardjo in the fight. That's a nice opener. Coalescence coming out from Curio as well, with already down 1 in the fight. Rank 1 Torb with yet another attack visor, but Chimpy gets a big one, taking 2 out of the fight with that. Carulius finds Curio in the fight, and we're on board with Nyx as they go looking for that Mercy.
Oh, Nyx
baited out!
And he couldn't even get the shield bash to make it back. He shield bashed straight into the side of the wall, so just fell straight down.
What a play, what a bait from Lionhead. That was crazy.
Man. Hardjo following him off the edge there. Whoa, wait, what's this graviton surge going on here? Hardjo, maybe he's switching. I'd imagine he's probably switching if he's just thrown that out like that. There we go, switching onto that Tracer.
Yeah, just wants to get back in quickly. 98% of the way to the point, and that is going to be everything captured. Oh, I think we might have a candidate for our play of the week. That was so good from Lionhead.
And, you know, I was thinking, actually, you know, Saints may be able to have taken that back, especially once Rank 1 Torb went down. Of course, by that point in the fight, Saints knew not to just ignore the soldier, not just to overlook him. But of course, we'll be going into Ruins here. Doesn't actually look like we're going to be having a sniper versus sniper, but Rank 1 Torb may just get a kind of free reign then if he's not being... focused by another Widow's Kiss.
But we do have this mobility coming out. We've got Django, we've got Chimpy on the side of Saints, can get up and deal with Rank 1 Torb, but unfortunately to do that, they've got to abandon the rest of their team, which is going to leave them prone to Quantum and the rest of Steelers. So I think we might see, well, assuming Rank 1 Torb can get some value out of this pick, we may see a couple of swaps coming out from Saints.
Yeah, so it's going to actually be very interesting because this is the second time now in this map that Saints have just been like, okay, we're just going to go Goats because, you know, it's sturdy, we can do it, we've been doing it for a long time and we can't afford to mess things up. But they didn't, of course, take the first point. So it's interesting that they've decided to come out in it once again. But you never know, this could be the time that Steelers don't actually manage to use the DPS to their advantage.
But I like this positioning from Saints. They were completely out of line of sight from rank 1 Torb on the Widow, and still out of line of sight. Quantum, though, coming in with the Farah pick, and there's a big nade coming out from Aggression, means that none of this damage can be healed back up, and that allows an early pick. Curio going down in that fight, and you know, once you lose one member, especially if you've got Quantum there, just more or less uncontested on the high ground, then you are very quickly going to give over this point. And this is what we saw from them last time. Yes, Saints took early control of the point, but Steelers knew just to be patient, come in, do some damage, get the kills, and then keep and retain control of the point.
Shooting a slept Lucio, just flying, sleeping through the air. I actually have to say, I really love the way that Ruggyram put down his shield on top of Saints, and of course they don't want to be in that shield because they can't deal damage through it. So they stepped out to be outside of the shield, which put them in direct line of sight of rank 1 Torb, which I thought was a very nicely coordinated play there.
Yeah, so Quantum has the barrage now, but of course, Curio goes down early.
Bullied.
Yeah, he's getting really hard focused. Just need to get rid of Chimpy's mech, and then there is nothing that can deal with the damage coming in from Quantum's rockets. And Saints have nothing online. They've nearly got the Graviton Surge, they've nearly got the Primal Rage, but you know, 1/3 of the point captured for their rival, and no ultimates online is not a good look for them.
And this is the thing, they can use that Graviton Surge, but the chances are the Farah, the Mercy, and the Hanzo are all going to be outside of that range, or you only get one of them.
Carulius
straight up easy.
Yeah. I did think we were going to lose Quantum in that exchange. I think they have used the barrage, nothing out of that. Django finally getting some kills on board for their own team. Out comes Magic Marv, Sound Barrier trying to keep his team alive through the aggression that they're starting to show. Django starting to get a few kills, but the self-destruct coming in from Carulius does nothing to deal with that. No ults left alive except for Curio's Transcendence in this fight, but they may not need to use it if they can get in and get the kills that are required. But look at this, they're trying so hard to take Leonid out of the fight, but he's so mobile that there's nothing they can really do. Chimpy with another self-destruct in over the top, goes right the way towards the back, and it gets a double. Magic Marv securing the D-Back, allowed the kill to come through. So with 80% of the point captured, we are going to see Saints finally flip this back around.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of a switch up here from Steelers. Rank 1 Torb going straight onto that Sombra, and in this sort of close quarters fight situation, he should be able to get a lot of hacks on, be able to build up his ultimate relatively quickly, and maybe come out with an EMP. But of course, Ruggyram going to be on that hamster as well.
Yeah, Harjo very close to getting another Graviton Surge. Barrage, nothing out of it, I'm afraid. Quantum takes themselves out with that ultimate, always a risk. And yeah, Saints looking like they're going to retain control certainly through this fight. Maybe we'll see some swaps coming out from Steelers, or maybe not.
Well, the difficult thing here is the fight was taken towards the spawn of the Steelers, which meant that actually there wasn't anything happening on the point, so you didn't have this fight of, oh, you know, this number of people of this team on the point and this number of people on this team. But here's the Graviton Surge getting straight up eaten.
That's the second one Carulius has eaten in this map. That is one hungry diva. Steelers starting to get some ultimates on the board. We've got the self-destruct Lionhead already using that Valkyrie. Big nade coming in from Aggression allows a key kill. There is no more Diva left in the fight. Chimpy going down. Django throws the Primal Rage at the fight, just trying to keep the team alive, and it's going to be very hard for them to get any kills through the sound barrier. And whilst that sound barrier is up, Harjo gets the key kill onto Quantum, but the minefield able to take Django out of the fight. Carulius is falling dangerously low, gets D-mech'd in the fight. Curio on a tear, taking out 2, getting the D-mech, and we are at 99 to 78. We need to see Steelers come in big here. It's not going to happen. I don't think there are just too many people left alive for Saints. Here's a self-destruct in round the back, not even required. So here we go, 1-1 in the final map. If this goes to 99-99, my prediction will have been correct, and I'll be a very happy bunny.
Yeah, we saw Quantum coming in at the end there. He had the barrage online, and he was thinking, okay, I could maybe try and do something harder, just taking him straight out. Taking him straight out. But we're going to be moving on to Well. I may have just kicked something over. We're going to be moving straight on to Well here at the end. My favourite point in the entire game, which a lot of people think I'm such a heathen for.
It's because you're a Farah player. It's because you want those boops. But this is a look that we were expecting out of Steelers, maybe not expecting quite so much out of Saints, but, you know, it is very strong for this map set using the Orisa bunker. So, interesting here, Steelers opting to use the Lucio. That's going to allow them to get to point earlier, and retain control of the point, and also to reposition the Orisa in this composition, which is a key part of this, how this works.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they've paired her up with the Hog, because you can, of course, get that Halt Hook combo if you can make it work.
Yeah, but look how much shield break Saints have. Between the Pharah and the Hanzo, it means they're able to take out pretty much anybody. Rank 1 Torb over on the favourite pick, and they're buying up so much attention. Harjo having to focus the Torb turret. So far, no kills yet on board. It's just turrets going down. Nobody able to take control of the point first. We're probably going to see some sort of big ult wipe or some sort of big boop into the pits. Well, there's a barrage. Nothing from it. Rank 1 Torb taking Nyx out of the fight. That's an opening time for Steelers to go, but Harjo with a quick equalizer taking Carulius in out of the fight, and there's a dragon. Where did that dragon even go? Harjo at 94% on capping theirs. Ooh, nice graviton, mini grab, whatever they're called. Pulls coming in, not quite able to capitalize anything on the back of that. Saints do finally take control of the point. Rank 1 Torb, the flanking Torb, the Torb you never expect, able to take Harjo in, out of the fight, but they need to aggress. Rookie Ram going in, popping that Diva barrier, allow them to get past it. We nearly lost our Lucia, but of course they can roll one. And there is the Molten Core, but the Torb themselves taken out by a nice big Alanade to the face, but that is going to be Steelers coming in big on the kill feed to retake the point.
Yeah, Steelers actually managing to turn things around there. I was a little bit concerned when at first their turret got taken down, because of course it's very hard to reposition it where it was, but we did see the turret be able to be kind of placed in that flanky position where Saints' attention just really wasn't. And Steelers obviously moving forward at the end there, in spite of receiving that nade. But it looks like Hardrick's getting ready to use this Dragon Strike.
Yeah, he's just doing his maths. He's throwing out the Sonic Arrow. He knows where they are. Where are you guys? I want to throw my dragon at you. There's the Sonic Arrow. There we go. He knows where they are. There goes the dragon. Does nothing. Unfortunately, nothing coming out of that dragon. Django's supercharger gets taken down by Rank 1 Torb, who swapped over onto the soldier. That nearly worked out terribly for Steelers with the hook coming in. Rugiram just able to reposition that barrier in time. Harjo takes Rank 1 Torb out of the fight. Quantum not able to find anything with their dragon either. Nice hook coming out from Nyx, swapping over onto the Roadhog, takes Carulius out of the fight, and a nano boost comes out onto Chimpy. Chimpy getting in, trying to do a little bit of damage there, and we the hook by Ruggy Ram down into the pit for you. Nyx at 84%, ready to go on the nice little melee combo at the end there to take Leonid out of the fight. Saints have a lot of stuff to play. Well, no, two things to play with here. They've got another dragon. They've almost got the whole hog as well, and that could be huge in a level with environmental kill potential.
Yeah, especially if you've got something like an anti-nade on the enemy team, or the damage boost coming out from the Mercy. But of course, these compositions do rely on revolving around that Orisa, so as soon as Ruggy Round was down, that was it for Steelers there. And once again, another dragon coming straight out. Gonna have to force out that nade there.
Much better dragon, takes Rank 1 Torb out of the fight, and then the follow-up, Harjo getting 3. Quantum does find the equalizer, except of course, 1 is not the same as 3, so it's not quite the equalizer, but it's certainly something. So at 78% of the point captured for Saints, Steelers have... Oh, so unfortunate. Nearly got away with that Carulius. They have to do something big here, and they've only got the nano boost to play with.
Yeah, and here we did just see Steelers obviously look very quick to actually turn around and reset there, and it's because they know that this is their last chance to win this fight. But you're right, with the whole hog as well as the nano boost available on the side of Saints, this is going to be really dangerous waters.
Yeah, it really is. Carulius has moved over back onto the Diva, presumably to get a... Oh, I like this. Nyx getting in a position, ready to try and use that ultimate to its full advantage. Has to back out. Quantum with the double takes out Django and Kyria. If there was ever an opening, guys, that was it. Only Ruggy Ram left alive in terms of main tank, but Nyx coming in big, secures the D-Mech, and the Res comes back in, bringing Django into the fight, and then in the meantime, they lose Ruggy Ram, so no main tank for Steelers. In fact, at this point, no anything left for Steelers. We've just got Rank 1 Torb with a valiant effort to come back in with the Tracer. So after an incredibly close game, Saints managed to come out on top over Steelers.
They do. They pull things back in their favor. They will be going forward into the finals, facing whoever wins our next semi-final matchup. And that's going to hurt really bad for the Steelers, because they showed so much dominance throughout so much of this game, and even on this last point here in, well, look at that.
I'm sorry, I love that Chimpy got play of the game for being asleep and then getting a couple of shots on people throwing themselves into the well.
Oh man, with Saints, they're going to be thinking, okay, Unagi.
It was very... That's a reference and a half.
Unagi!
And for our younger viewers in the audience...
But yeah, of course, you know, we cannot discount how well Steelers played in that, especially like Quantum. I just got to bring up Quantum just because of how much DPS prowess he showed. I mean, even rank 1 Torb, like, this is a team that have shown that they have a lot of strength on DPS, and even when they're playing GOATs, they play it with so much aggression, but they seem to have really found where their niche is and how they feel their comfort is, and there were so many situations where they really were you know, overcoming what Saints were throwing at them. But at the end, Saints just ended up being able to gain control of those situations. They figured out their win conditions, even really simple things like, as I said at the end there, where they knew that the Orisa was clearly the most important member of that team. So as soon as they actually managed to bring her down, pull her into the well with that halt, you know, you could see even on Steelers, they were using the Fortify, they were using the Nano Boost on her. Everything was to protect her. And as soon as she went down, Steelers lost their dominance on the point. And that was where Saints were able to bring back their own. Yeah,
it is a shame. You know, you've got to feel a little bit for the underdog Steelers coming into this against the returning champions to have gotten so close to taking that win.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to feel equal parts depressed and happy that you got so far. Sad that you didn't get quite far enough. But yes, as Gio said, that is going to be Saints moving forward to our final live at Insomnia in a few weeks. We'll be coming back very shortly with Spartans versus Claymores to determine who their opponent is going to be. So
it's going to be a spicy one.
It's going to be very spicy. It's going to be 3 chilies on the takeaway menu levels of spicy. That's right, guys. Bring some milk. We'll be right back after a very short break, I believe.
apologies till everybody's mad at me. Can't react to my body 'cause it's begging me to cheat. Begging me to cheat. We'll see just how perfect I can. Was it too much to love me too? Love me too.
But when you come out, I see the stars. There are
Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be our second match today. We're, of course, going over to Spartans v Claymores. I do hope you at least watched that previous map, because that was really good. Here's hoping for just as good a showing from the Spartans Claymores, huh?
Yeah, Spartans are pretty much dedicated their entire season to making sure that they are pretty much as formidable as possible, since that they lost out to that championship title at the end of last season. They lost it to Saints, and they've always had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder about it. They want to prove that they're the best. So they're going to be coming through in this series to basically prove that they are good enough to take on the big boys.
Yeah, and we already know that Saints have made it through to the final, so I think they're going to feel pretty bad if they don't even make it through the semis to get to the finals this time.
Yeah, there's history.
Yeah, there's a story, guys. There's a backstory. There's a whole bunch of prequels you've got to go and read, really, to get a grip of what's happening in the most recent film. Wait, what are we talking about again?
Not Star Wars.
Okay. I forget. And they brought me to talk about something. I just go.
But Claymores, of course, have also had a really solid season so far. So, this is their chance where they want to be the foils almost. They want to be throwing a spanner in the works for Spartans. They only got to the quarterfinals in the last season, so they're already further ahead than they were last time. And they can almost see the ending in sight. You got the finish line so close, that golden box of victory. But they just know they got to get through. Spartans, there's a really strong titan of a team before they can get there. But after seeing the last series and seeing just how far Steelers took Saints, anything could happen.
Yeah, we're through the looking glass, people. Who knows what's going to happen? Both of these teams have gone 3-0 in their quarterfinal rounds. I believe both of them were the top of the bracket in their group stages. So, yeah, both teams with a lot of skill and a lot of stuff to prove still.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to actually be running on the same map pool as before. So we will be starting off in Lijiang Tower when we get into it. But of course, we're just going to have a quick look here at the rosters that they will be sporting today.
Yeah, I mean, I want to bring particular attention to one player, which is Kotenks, who took home our my favourite. I love watching Doomfist, and Kotenks, for a stunning play on Dorado last week, did take home our Play of the Week prize last week. So let's see if they can replicate that success in today's maps. Of course, we've also got Padshak, who's been in the Arena Clash series right since the very beginning. But of course, Claymore's no slouches either. We've seen Laserzen and Podorian in particular stand out in previous matches for Claymores. So this really could go the distance.
Yeah, and there's one thing that, you kind of have to take into account with these teams, especially as we're now at the top teams that have been competing in this tournament, is generally it's the flexibility that comes out from these two teams. And especially with Spartans, we've seen this very much. Pretty much everybody on that team can play any role. So there's a lot that they can bring out. There's a lot that they can do to hold you back. And that's really going to be the kind of hill to climb for both of these teams going into this semi-final matchup today.
Yeah, but we will of course be starting over on Lijiang Tower and moving over first of all to Night Market. Now this is one of these maps where there are a whole host of different compositions that you could run. I wouldn't be surprised to see either team coming out with the familiar Zenyatta Goats variant.
Boo, I want to see some pharmacy. You also frequently see McCree's come out on here. It's definitely one of those sorts of maps that you can see those sort of protect the McCree compositions come out, where you pile all of your resources into him. But of course you do see some Ashe, some Widowmaker. It is DPS friendly, and it does look like we're actually going to be seeing a number of these heroes right now. Kotank's looking like he'll come out on that Pharah, being paired up there with the Sombra and Ashe, and of course Claymore's having the Widowmaker. So pretty much everybody we mentioned.
Yeah, I mean this is a really familiar look for Spartans. Padshak on the Sombra in particular. It tends to be Padshak either on the Sombra or frankly on the Brigitte, because that's where you put your DPS players these days. Claymore's coming out again with their own. It's actually going to be
switching things up.
Yeah, switching things up. It did look like they were coming out on the Goats, moving Notan over onto the Hanzo. Let's see how this plays out. Padshak taking an early aggressive position. Of course, dangerous to run in cloaked in that environment. Claymore's backing out of the way, going for an alternative rotation. They now know that they've got Padshak to deal with. Kotank's going to remain relatively uncontested now that Notan is back onto the Brigitte. So Kotank's is going to be a very key part of this strategy for the Spartans, because they're able to take this back position and just rain in damage uncontested and burst down people like Podorian. Here we see the D-Mech, Heart going down fairly shortly after. So Kotanks, we highlighted him at the start, is going to be a player to watch. Laserzen does manage to take out Mr. Trix in the exchange then, but that is going to be pretty much all they wrote for that attack.
Yeah, okay, of course. Spartans finally being able to get the cap on and getting very close to some of those key ultimates. And one of the big things about running a Pharah at the moment on these maps that do have these small choke points and sort of entrance ways is that her explosive damage has been increased from 16.25 back up to 20. So she does have that splash damage that she used to have.
Yeah, Padshak comes out and with an EMP ready to show for it. Ooh. There it goes. Finds for Notan falling in that. Kotanks with a big barrage for the follow-up. Getting 5 in that exchange. Padshak clears up Laserzen. Team kill bell, everybody, and it cost them 2 ults to get it.
Yeah, not very much at all, and so it does mean that they have even more coming into this next fight, and that minefield is going to be really crucial given that the point on this map is kind of a sort of a secluded little room where if you put those mines down, you will really force the enemy team out of that area. So this could make it even harder for Claymores to actually be able to aggress onto the point.
Yeah, and look how many angles Spartans are playing. There's nowhere Claymores can go that doesn't involve them taking at least some damage. Here comes T22 with the early aggression, of course, has the minefields on board. Well, not anymore. They get dropped. Laserzen finds Mr. Trix in the exchange. but this is still anybody's fight. Kotanks with another barrage. How does Notan find Kotanks in that exchange? Would love to have seen that. There is a Bob on the point, getting knocked off the point. Actually, Hammerfall brings Kotanks back into the fight. Padshak already at 73% to another ult, and Spartans still in control of the point, despite everything that Claymores just threw at them.
Well, the thing with Kotanks' barrage there, it was very cheeky because it was pretty much a meter off the ground. So you literally had the Brigitte right in front of him. It was quite jammy. So no surprises that he went down there, but of course being able to receive that resurrect as you're running the Mercy on the team. Claymores actually with Heart still holding on to this coalescence that he's had for quite a while now, and you don't really want to be holding on to ultimates that long, but going against a quad DPS composition, when's the ideal time to use it? Well, it looks like now.
Yeah, there's another big EMP, comes in, finds Podorian and Laserzen. Podorian goes down in the fight. Minefields, and Kotanks just with that primary fire taking out everybody from Claymores, and that is going to be a clean 100-0 to Spartans on Night Marker.
Yeah, and I think in the moments where Claymores were actually trying to fight back and give Spartans a bit of a hard time, they weren't really making too much of an effort to back onto the point. There was one point where it looked like it was possible for them to get a back cap, but they just weren't moving enough, and I think Laserzen was playing rather passively and not really going forward quite as much as Spartans were, and putting nowhere near as much pressure onto the enemy team. But now moving into Control Center, looking like we're going to be seeing Kotanks come out on this Mei, and a really important thing about Mei right now is her primary fire DPS has been increased from 45 to 55, which is a big increase, and that can make it really difficult when going against that endothermic blaster. However, her ice wall has had a bit of a nerf, going down to 400 HP from 500, so blocking off those walls is not going to be as effective as it used to be.
Yeah, but starting with that Mei wall, of course, with Claymores having taken the low ground approach, that Mei wall has sewn them off immediately, not that effective, but Feasdog gets the first kill. Cheek22 swinging away with the hammer, takes out a second, and Claymores have to back out here. Spartans have too much point presence, too much damage, and there's not a lot they can do in that state.
Yeah, very quick there for Spartans to just take the point. Yeah. There's not really all that much else that you can say about it, and now they're going to be keeping control of this choke point here, and once again that wall, if it does go up, will be a lot easier for Claymores to actually get through, but it is still a problem.
Yeah, and look at the comparative ult charge. Teak22 manages to build up that ultimate with Laserzen only at 36%, dying first in the number of exchanges. We probably will see Teak22 lap Laserzen in terms of ultimate charge.
It really would not shock me. But Claymores are actually...
Long stagger. Goodbye, Zen.
Claymores, they're starting to get a few ultimates on the board here, and if they do get this Graviton Surge to land very well and get a good follow-up, they could bring Spartans down, but of course Feasdog does have his own Graviton Surge to go.
Ooh.
Here we go.
I did like what we were seeing there from Kotanks and Padshak looking to use the third angle perspective to get an idea of when they were coming in for the window, but it didn't really matter. The Graviton Surge came out, but a snow globe from Kotanks, that Blizzard online, is going to secure a nice couple of kills at the end there. Notan separated out by that wall, trapped amongst the rock and the hard place, taken out by Spartans.
Well, the important thing in that fight was Kotanks' perceptiveness. As soon as Spartans got caught in that Graviton Surge, he did put the wall straight up to prevent Claymores from actually being able to follow up and deal the damage into the Graviton, and then of course once the wall went down, they were able to land their own Graviton and send the fight back in their favour. Yeah,
Kotanks though, waiting again, finds 3 with that. Shatter comes out from Laserzen, not able to find anything. G22 too quick with the shield. Here's a self-destruct in over the top, finds 1 finally. Padshak going down in the exchange, but Cheek22 able to get in with another Shatter, but we are 2 for 1 in terms of kills. Spartans on the losing end of this fight, and we are going to see Claymores finally start to come in and do some of the heavy lifting required to take this point over.
Yeah, finally it looks like they're going to be able to get it with 2 people on the point here, but of course, as you say, Spartans, they do have 99%, so that means that if Spartans win just the next fight, that is all it will take for them to be able to take Control Center and thus Lijiang Tower. So this is where Claymores, they've got to start throwing their own strengths, and right now with no ultimates on the board, they're getting close to some, but with no ultimates on the board, it's going to be rocky ground.
Yeah, Spartans going for the rotation, and I don't think Claymores are seeing them. No, Claymores do rotate and get onto the point. Laserzen now has the Earth Shatter online, but Feasdog has a Coalescence as well. just one of those things. Graviton Surge, big shatter coming out for Lasers, then No 10 with the follow-up in a big way. Maywar coming out at the end buys a little bit of space, but not really enough. There's a Kotanks falls in that fight also.
Yeah, the interesting use of the wall at the end there, because they actually ended up shutting out a load of members of Claymores onto the side of the point, which meant that there wasn't really any contestation going through. And Spartans do have the peace of mind of knowing they still have another couple of attempts before they really need to be concerned.
Yeah, well, here's Padjack coming in, starting with the rally. Graviton Surge, Blizzard in over the top. Is anything going to come out of that? No, because the Coalescence from Heart was too good, mitigated all of that damage. Ooh, I did think that Maywar was going to stop the, was going to trap the Zarya and secure the kill from the D.Va self-destruct, but it didn't happen. Cheek22 coming in big, swings with a hammer, knocks them all off the point at 72% captured. Spartans retake the point. Is there going to be a recontest? Well, I very much doubt it.
Yeah, I really don't think so there. And you could see in that last fight the fact that the Spartans did just have control over it. Of course, Echoic did bring out the self-destruct, but the reason being was because he did have that Discord Orb applied to him, and after being stuck in both the Graviton Surge and the Blizzard, he was really being brought down very low. He popped that self-destruct just to prevent his tank from being completely lost away from him. And of course, when a team has control over another team's ultimate usage, you know that they're really going to have the dominance to take back the point in their favour. And of course, there we go, Phil, your favourite, your boy.
My boy. I was going to say, and from the looks of this play of the game, having control over your own Kotanks looks to be another good way to take the point off your opponent. I think, okay, after this I promise I'm going to stop gushing about Kotanks, but he did get
Really?
play of the game in every map he played in last week. So the guy's nuts. Just keep your eye on him.
I mean, Spartans haven't really broken a sweat yet. And they just seem to be kind of one step ahead a little bit, you know, using that Mei. They had quite a lot of strength being able to use it. And, you know, this is just kind of one hero's worth of a variation off of what is being widely considered the standard. And so that means going into the next map, be it Route 66 or Dorado, we obviously don't know which it will be yet. It's the loser who will decide. Oh, the Magic Man in the sky is telling me that it's going to be Dorado, which is... no. Where is he?
I hear voices.
Is going to be Dorado, which obviously we saw Route 66 in the last series that we looked at in the semi-finals today. So it's going to be a little bit of variety, start to see some exciting things come out, and we did say it in the last series, but Dorado is one of those maps where there are so many different viable compositions and viable heroes that you can play. And so this is where we will likely be seeing these players pick who they feel really good at playing and not just who they think they should be playing as a composition.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of viable DPS comps, as again we saw last week a few choice DPS picks in this map coming up big for for Spartans in their the previous round. So let's see if they can make that work again. It's going to be Spartans starting on the defense this time.
Yeah, it looks like they're actually going to be running something very similar to what they were doing in Lijiang Tower, going for the Lucio there to be joining the Mercy instead of running a quad DPS. But with Padchat, Kotanks, and Feazdog sticking there on those DPS heroes that they've shown very well. And this actually, the selection of these DPS heroes are very good when you want to control these high grounds. Of course, you have these roofs that you can sit on, and also these further back high grounds. And all three of these heroes are ones that have quite a lot of mobility and can dance around and keep control of those places. And given the composition that Claymores are running, they're going to have a little bit of a hard time dealing with that.
Yeah, I mean, this composition with the Ana is one that strives at picking apart these tight, bunched up compositions, and they just don't have that to deal with. So we may see Heart swap off, Hack coming in onto Laserzen. Not able to find anything much by follow, but yeah, that's exactly what I was expecting. Heart moving over onto the Moira to deal with some of these DPS threats and keep their team alive. Cheek22 falling very, very low there. Again, not quite able to capitalise.
Straight on through.
Padshak going for the slide on the back there, hacking Ben as they finally land on the floor. And these TNT blasts are coming in big. Feazdog already at 90% of their ultimate because they're coming in and finding pretty much everybody. And once again, Kotank's able to just stay up there in the sky, permanently boosted, and rain in this damage. Nobody is dealing with him.
Yeah, we saw it, Kirk. They're actually receiving the armor pack because of it, but in comes the barrage.
Oh, that was unfortunate. Nearly got the barrier down. Podorian coming in big there, and I like that. Good presence of mind from Notan. Gets in, gets the shield bash onto Hammerfall, means that they're not able to get the res off. Claymores using the sound barrier to buy a little more progress on the cup. defend from Cheek 22. Cheek 22 very low, has a little bit of leeway with the adaptive shield, and I like this nice dive there from Echoic coming in to take Feazdog out of the fight. Feazdog, though, at 95% of their ultimate, that's going to be a big factor in this next fight, but they have captured point A successfully.
Yeah, if they can get the Bob to come in, then that would be really great. But also, this is a little bit more open, this area. And I think we'll be focusing a little bit more on Patchak using that EMP. Kotanks is a bit too far away from his barrage to pair them up. But given Spartan's aggressiveness, this could still be the one.
It could easily, and to be
There we go.
oh, that's a big one coming in. Finding 5. The only person it didn't find was Hart, and that's because Hart was already dead. Not a huge amount of follow-up. Feazdog gets a quick double still. 4 up and alive for Claymores, but it's not really enough to push the payload with. We have seen that we've got that self-destruct online for Echoic. Spartans don't have any shielding to deal with it, so that could be what cracks this fight for Claymores.
Yeah, but you know what Spartans do have? They have 5 ultimates.
It's a lot of ultimates. Gotta give them
That is definitely a lot of ultimates, and this fight is kind of being taken a little bit further away here because Kotang's bringing in those rockets is really holding Claymores back, so they're not even getting the opportunity to very much touch the payload, maybe getting one person at a time for a very brief amount of time, but really being held back here in the marketplace.
Yeah, this is a composition that thrives on chaos. You know, you send in Cheek 22, he blasts people up, Kotanks gets a rocket in as they just did there, taking Lasers N out of the fight. There's the self-destruct we were looking for. Doesn't find anybody, does buy a bit of space for Cheek 22. Kotanks gets a double, gets taken out by Ben, in fact trades with Ben. So, you know, two from a barrage, that's pretty good going. Maybe not his best barrage so far this fight, but still not terrible.
Yeah, and Hammerfell tried to get that res onto him, but did have to back off. But I have to say, Spartans' way they brought down Lasers was really smart because they waited for him to use his jump and then hack him, so he was just left on his own to die, and that obviously prevents Claymores from pushing up even further. And Ben is sitting here with this Graviton Surge, wants to be able to use it, but there's just no real opening.
Yeah, and of course Notan using the rally in that fight there, and a lost fight means they no longer have that on board, and we're stuck with Echoic. Echoic still in Pilot Diva form, struggling to find the damage to bring themselves back into contention to get that mech, and look, Kotanks knows where they are, knows that this is a nice early kill, finding Echoic in the fight, exactly what they were looking for. Hart with the Coalescence, not able to find anything. It's nice, dogged, persistent attempt to get in and do some damage, but unfortunately the Mercy healing kind of outweighs all the damage coming in from the Coalescence. Kotanks on a tear, finds 2. Feazdog with the follow-up, and that is going to be another fight won by Spartans.
And that's the kind of situation that you find yourself when you're running a composition like Claymores against a composition like Spartans. In fact, you actually see Claymore switching things up here as you're relying on the Moira to use her Coalescence to go after the Farah in the sky, and it's really just not the ideal situation to be in.
Well, there's a Graviton Surge.
That was a Graviton Surge. I think trying to get Kotanks to be stuck there so that they could fire into him, but of course he was managed to boop himself away, fire up into the air just before he was able to get caught in it.
Yeah, but of course, look, here we're seeing the Ben swap over onto the Widowmaker. They've realised what a threat Kotanks is. They're going to have to directly counter them if they want to make any more progress on the payload. But, you know, we've seen Kotanks are very, very good at using the geometry, using the mobility to get in, out the way. Good focus from Patchak. Knew that that was a key target. Hart falling to 20 HP straight away. Kotanks finds another 2 with the barrage, surviving that one. Coming out of it to launch those rockets into the face of the poor low health Winston of Lasers, and Claymore's really struggling here.
Yeah, and you know, Spartans are now running this sort of sadistic playstyle here where they're using this EMP barrage so far in front of the payload that Claymores just don't have a chance to even see it.
Yeah, it's going to be so frustrating to play into.
Yeah, very much so. It looks as well like Claymores are trying to switch things up to be able to deal with it because they can see just how much of a threat Kotanks is posing, and there's so little that they've been able to do against him so far. But Ben being taken down by Patchak there, not even got a chance to use his hit scan against Farah.
Yeah, we've got the Valkyrie into the fight now. Thought it might have been used to ring Ben back into the fight, but Ben's swapping over onto the Trace to try and get back into this fight. But in the meantime, Hammerfall brings Patchak back into the fight, and Kotanks, unsurprisingly, finds a quick 1-2 with the D-Mech and the kill onto Echoic. Claymores do have a couple of ults to play with if they can get back in this fight, but they've only got 34 seconds left to go, and you know what? Patchak's 5% away from having another EMP.
And that's the thing, is the time has been ticking down so much, and they just haven't really been able to get the payload very far. But there have been so many ultimates exchanged because Spartans are playing so aggressively that they've been able to build up the ultimates to hold Claymores off, and now getting closer and closer to that 10-second mark. Phil, are they going to be able to do it?
It's going to be a struggle, but I like what Laser Zen is doing here. There we go. Bought some space, pressured Kotank. In comes Echoic with the self-destruct. Buys space for Notan to get in and get a double with the Dragon Blade. Kotank's brought back into the fight. Claymores finally, with a beautiful combination of ultimates, retake the payload and even get a nice team kill bell to show for it.
And it's so unfortunate for them that this is the time that they've been able to do it, because they still have quite a way to go, and this is quite a difficult part of the map to play against. You have these right angled corners as well as a high ground that requires a dive in order to be able to reach anybody up there. So this could be quite dangerous for Claymores, and it's going to be a question as to whether they can even make it to the next point.
Well, there's another barrage. Finds Laser Zen, buys a bit of space. Feast Dog and Padshak clean up the rest. Echoic does take Kotanks out of the fight, but this is still kills very much in favour of Spartans. Feast Dog with a melee kill onto Echoic. Just saw the aftermath of that there on the camera. It's a valiant effort, Hart, but sadly, only the Zen left on the payload is never a good look for you.
Yeah, and Claymores there, they're only going to have 1 point on the board, unfortunately for them, which means Spartans really don't have that far to take the payload, 78 meters. And they're, of course, going to be starting off with the full time bank that's available to them, and Claymores, having done it, well, got that far in overtime, you know,
yeah.
No time left.
You can kind of afford to be leisurely if you're the Spartans here, because you've been, you know, without wishing to talk too much smack about Claymores, Spartans have been just absolutely dominant in this fight so far, and they've hardly broken a sweat. You know, every time there's a team fight, they've got at least 2 ults in it. Claymores, I honestly don't know what they can do here to halt Spartans.
I mean, they need to come out with some way where they are going to be ready for Kotanks from the get-go. And it looks like, well, Notan, you were doing... What are you doing?
Come on,
Stop
Notan.
changing. They need to deal with Kotanks because... I mean, really, the biggest threat the Spartans have here is they have 2 really, really well-playing DPS heroes, Padshak and Kotanks, who are both going to be in very different parts of the map at any one time. And of course, it's going to be very... Okay, I see you're very happy. It's going to be very difficult for them to deal with both of these threats at the same time, and that makes it very difficult for them to decide how they should be approaching their defense. Now, of course, we've seen Kotanks switching out onto that Doomfist here. Now, Doomfist is very good at getting in and getting straight out. He, of course, gets those shields for all the damage that he deals.
I want to jump in there because I've seen Kotanks play Doomfist. There is very little getting out. It is all just in the whole time. Here he comes, taking up the high ground position, finds an early bash, taking Notan down onto the low ground, not quite able to get rid of that, does find the translocator. We're going to see
Oh, but tactical crouching as he sees it.
Patient little bit of BM there, whilst no, but unfortunately it's not gonna pay off because Hammerfall with the Mercy takes Ben in out of the fight. On board with Kotanks once again. Oh, and Notan cleverly able to get out of the way, not able to connect a lot of these abilities. Actually, this is not the Kotanks I was hoping to see. There we go. Oh, and Cheek22 takes the credit for that one. Not really an awful lot for the DPS to do here. It's been a very short run fight.
It's been a mild, mild weather of a fight. Just not really much to say. But there we go.
Here we
Kotanks.
go. Kotanks coming in, finds a quick double, displaces the Reinhardt, gets in, allows Cheek22 to get the kill on the end there, and at 94% of their ultimate is in a very strong position going forwards. You know, I don't think have we ever spent so long spectating one person? I wonder why this is. I think I might have a word with our producer and see if there's some bias going on here. Here we go. Let's see some lasers in.
One of the really nice things actually about Doomfist at the moment is he did just receive a buff, so now his cooldowns on his Seismic Slam and his uppercut have gone down to 6 seconds from 7, so that should make his movement a lot more fluid, and it means that Kotanks getting into these fights will have the ability to move around and use those abilities more often and recover from any shortfallings.
Yeah, and of course one of the things that you can do with the Doomfist in this position is just make it super hard for the Reinhardt to get anything done. Oh, it's a hack, and it's a Meteor Strike coming in on the top, help from the Bob, taking out another one, and we are going to see, oh, the EMP did come out, it did hit Kotanks, that means there's no abilities left, and that is going to be be a nice bit of target focus, taking Notan out of the fight, and again, having hardly broken a sweat, Spartans are getting very close to capping this final point.
Yeah, I mean, they're just gonna do it.
Yeah, nobody there.
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
it's anticlimactic. It's what can you say about that?
there's only so much you can say when there is a team that has been so decisively dominant in their fight, and it's actually almost a shame to have to say that, because Claymores have played so well in the season so far. They've made it further this season than they did last season in these playoffs, and yet nonetheless Spartans are just running rings around them, and it is because Claymores just don't have an answer to the threats that are coming from all angles.
So I think this is one of the problems that we are seeing coming out of the GOATS meta, if indeed we are coming out of the GOATS meta, is that we have a lot of players, a lot of teams who are practicing the GOATS v GOATS matchup, and when you suddenly have a team that has these viable DPS threats, you go, this isn't GOATS. Who do I bash? You know, how do I take this apart? And sorry, this is being unfair to Claymores, because they're clearly very talented players who have gotten this far. But if you are a team that has only practiced the GOATS v GOATS matchup, it is very, very rough to come up against a DPS team.
And that's the thing, is in recent times, in the most recent meta, teams are going to be playing GOATS and scrimming GOATS because that's what everybody knows very well, and no one really wanted to take the risk to kind of stretch beyond that, because they may just be putting themselves at an unnecessary disadvantage. However, Spartans were always a team who were still playing non-GOATS compositions before this new patch. So they've actually been scrimming it for much longer. They've been thinking about, how to counter things, how to play certain things for much longer, and they've been able to develop these skills for longer, and it's gonna give them a lot more power going into these fights. And we know now that we're going to be going into Temple of Anubis for our next map. I think everybody's sick of Volskaya Industries at this point, which was also a potential map in our map pool, but we've already had Temple of Anubis today.
We have. It was a very well contested map. Let's see if we can finally get a little bit of drive out of Claymores as they come into this next round.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how this happens. In fact, Spartans, they're going to be starting off on the attack, so that means, it's all up to Claymores now to set the pace of this game. We'll wait and see what it is they decide to bring out on their defense. There are so many different varieties of compositions you can go for. A lot of people like to run a sort of bunker composition, and given that they're bringing Echoic out on oh no, he wasn't going for the Roadhog at all, but instead going for this sort of what's kind of been a bit traditional for Temple of Anubis with the Widowmaker versus the Junkrat. You can fire in those frag grenades into the small sort of choke points, into the small room, especially the one that is on your right from the defender's perspective, while also having a Widowmaker right at the back. Be able to perhaps even get an opening pick before the attacking team has managed to make it through the choke point, which makes it very difficult for the team to actually be able to make their attack.
So this defensive lineup from Claymores, I worry about Hart in this lineup, because everybody else has some form of ability and he can be pounced so easily. Spartans? What's this, guys? Okay, fine. Padshak going out for a bit of a scout. I did wonder if we were really going to get a quintuple DPS lineup. Doesn't look like it.
You never know. No, there we go. Switching on to a few of the support heroes. Actually going for something a little bit more standard. Actually, for Spartans, going straight onto that Winston Ghost. They will be able to make the dive, but they're also going to be coming along with less of a DPS prowess and more of a, this sort of team coordination, shield bash, wall riding. Well, that's not something the whole team can do, but,
No, but, Laser Zen over on the Winston and keeping Kotanks on the Diva. Sorry, keeping Echoic on the Diva means that you do have threats and get out of the way of the aggression from Claymore, so it needs to be a really nice coordinated dive coming in from Spartans to make this work. Who's going to get the first kill here? Hammerfall, who was previously on the Mercy. Kotanks, there we go, what a surprise, getting the first kill. Notan comes out of the fight, does get res by Podorian, but this is just going to be a masterclass in how to pick apart a defensive lineup.
Yeah, and I was really looking for Ben to be the one to get, the opening shot, especially if he got it on Leonia, who would have been the ultimate target to get there, because it would have been the most open. But of course, Spartans, with 6 minutes 34 on the clock now, being able to just very, very quickly and cleanly take that point, moving into the next round here.
key here, though, there isn't a Reinhardt on hand to just one-shot this Tyre, so the Tyre could be a nice big opener here. Does find Hammerfall. Losing the main tank early in the fight is typically the opening that you want to see, and we are going to see Ben using this to get a bit of aggression, move forward. They are going to have to back out a little bit, I think, as Spartans successfully retreat behind the barrier, but that is a nice defensive hold from Spartans, from Claymores, largely on the back of Notan's Riptire, moving over now onto the Brigitte to run that classic Zenyatta variant of Goats.
Yeah, but Spartans will have been able to build up a lot of that ult charge in that very small push there, so they are going to be coming in with the Primal Rage as well as everything else, and entering here with the self-destruct. Not going to get anyone, though.
No, it's a nice gambit, but unfortunately slightly in the wrong position. Hammerfall using the Primal Rage to buy some space on the point, hopefully try and get a little bit of progress whilst booping the rest of the team around. Receives the Discord Orb, makes it so difficult to spend too much time in there, but Hammerfall comes out of that with almost all of their health online. Feastdog has the Graviton Surge ready to go, but Ben taking Padshak out of the fight means that they are now 5-6. And look at this target focus from Echoic. They are collapsing on target after target. Down goes Feastdog as Claymores manage to
Nice one.
I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to give up on that one. I had a thing and my own tongue got in the way.
Claymores managed to clay.
That's some good claying from Claymores.
I love it. Well,
Claymores managed to claw back their way there. I'm just going to go to bed, guys. Good night.
I really like that they did bring down Feastdog there, because it did prevent him from using the Graviton Surge that would have been so key in that fight. Now, Claymores bringing out their own Graviton Surge. Doesn't look like it's going to be getting all that much, though.
No, not a lot of value out of that, neither from the self-destruct that we saw come out from Echoic in this fight. So Spartans using the rally to get in. Here's the Graviton Surge, locks up quite a lot of Claymores. Hart has the Transcendence online, ready to go. But Spartans able to burst their way through it. Laserzen and Notan fall in that fight. Hart is doing their best to keep this alive from the side. Sound barrier from Bedorian just to buy a bit more space and a bit more time for people to come back into the point. But we are going to see these kills start to come in. It's red on the left-hand side of that kill feed. Hammerfall comes in with the shatter. Goodbye, Laserzen. Goodbye, Notan. No point capture progress yet. There has been too much of a recontest coming in, but we are going to start to see this tick up now. No ultimates left alive for Claymores. We're nearly at Ben's Graviton Surge, but it needs to be the biggest of Graviton Surge to get anything done. 2 ticks captured for Spartans. Anything Claymores can do, they need to do now as Laserzen falls. There's the Graviton Surge. Immediately, we see Leonia come streaming back in with the Transcendence. Nothing doing out of that, neither from the self-destruct. Here's the answering self-destruct.
There we go,
Kotank's taking Notan out of the fight. 6-2 left on the point. Laserzen coming back in, but there is just too much damage, even with that huge adaptive shield, with that Discord Orb in place. There's nothing they can do as Spartans roll in and take point 2.
They managed to do that pretty decisively, and that last fight there, as soon as they managed to get certain members of Claymores down, and it was at one point just Hart left on the point, and he had to receive that sound barrier in order to stay alive and mitigate the Discord Orb that had been placed on him. That's when Spartans could kind of claw their way in and bring it back in their favour, and of course, that last Graviton Surge there from Ben just wasn't quite enough, especially as Spartans could answer it with their own Transcendence. But they didn't quite do it as fast as they could have. That could have gone a lot faster, so they do have the 3 minutes 21 on the board. It is going to be a little bit of a struggle here for Claymores, given how it's been going so far for them. They've been showing a little bit of weakness to Spartans, not necessarily got quite as much strength in them. So this is not just really going to be a fight for the time bank, but a fight to even get point B.
Yeah, and you know, it's difficult because for Claymores, they have to know coming into this that they are the weaker team when it comes to the direct Goats v Goats matchup. I don't know, we've not seen enough from them to say that they've got the DPS prowess to go toe-to-toes with Spartans, so really, what do you do here if you're Claymores?
It's a good question, especially given that Spartans, they're coming out with something a little bit less than orthodox with their Torbjorn, which I would imagine they will place behind Orissa's shield or somewhere up high.
Up high on the left.
And it'll make it... Oh, there we go.
Oh, he missed. He's going for the box up there.
Yeah, I see. Well, what that's going to do is it's going to mean there's going to be a crossfire as Claymores come into this or through this choke point. So they're going to be forced to either go through the left-hand room or the right-hand room. There's no way they're going to be able to make a dive straight onto Spartans, which is what a lot of teams would attempt to do. But of course, running that Goats, that wasn't even going to be an option in the first place.
Now, here we go, rotating up onto the high ground. There's the turret's angle of attack. Feastdog takes Heart out early in the fight. We lose Ben very shortly after, and this is an aborted push. All this is ult charge for Spartans.
Yeah, and there we go. Claymore's coming down very, very quickly, and now they do have the context of knowing where the turret is, and unless Spartans move it, it's done its job so far, so it should most likely stay where it is. So I'd imagine Claymores will probably try to make a slightly different rotation, maybe go in through the right-hand room there. Oh, is the turret going to get moved? See, this is where they could start messing with them.
Yeah, okay, same position.
Okay, just getting a little bit more health in there.
It's a double bluff. They know that they think they're going to move it, so they don't move it to confuse them.
Thing is, Claymores can't be passive here because they will be taken down. So either someone has to jump on that turret and go for it at the same time as them jumping on the team, or they've just kind of got to hope for the best.
Yeah. We are seeing a little bit of progress finally, but here Feastdog has the Bob in the fight, adding another angle of attack. Bedorian takes Hammerfall in that fight, but it's not going to be enough as Kotanks and Leonia manage to clear up. We get a couple of nice kills there from Kotanks with the... what do you actually call that ultimate?
Molten Core?
Molten Core, there we go.
Yeah, and of course we did see Ben there actually try to use both his personal and projected barriers to allow him and Echoic to jump across the lava, but it just wasn't enough. It only takes 200 HP, and with the Molten Core as well as the incoming fire, they just went straight down. But now Claymores, they've just got to try and do the same thing again.
Yeah, we got to have a dry push, build some ultimates, and get your victory on the back of said ultimates. Going to go straight past the Orisa Shield, which is good. That's how you deal with an Orisa Shield, just walk past them. Feastdog on the high ground, able to just rain in damage. Padshak coming in with the self-destruct. Nothing doing out of that. I suspect there was a lot of damage sent onto Lasers and Shield, but here we go again. Ben falling down early in the fight. Echoic demectin killed in fairly short order. But they are starting to generate ultimates. You know, we've got Ben's Graviton Surge, we've nearly got the Earth Shatter, we've nearly got a Transcendence. So this push or the next push is going to be their time to do this.
And they're at the point now where, okay, if they're going to commit to the composition that they are running now, which, the thing is now Spartans know exactly what they're going to do because they're just doing the same thing over and over. But if they were to change, then they'd be going back to 0 ultimates. They just kind of have no choice but have to keep going and make their attempt. And up there we go. The turret is down now, so they don't have that scary crossfire the same way that they did before.
Yeah, but they've got Feastdog's Bob to worry about in this next fight. That's a heck of a crossfire to deal with. Here you go, rotating low ground onto point rather than going directly across the bridge. But we've got a Bob on the point, and oh, that's a nice shatter coming in from Lasers then. Ben with the follow-up, taking down the turbocharger, and quick show lobby sign there. Mr. Triggs does bring Hammerfall back into the fight, but I think at this point Claymores have too many bodies alive on point to actually get an awful lot done here. So we may see Claymores finally capping point A, but it's worth noting this is a much, much shorter time bank than Spartans had on their run.
Yeah, at this point, by the time they cap point A, they're going to have about 4.5 minutes, which means that if they hope to beat the time bank of Spartans, they need to do point B in 1 minute.
Yeah, they've got to do it on this run, and they've got tools to do it with. We've got a sound barrier, we've got a self-destruct. That in the right place could open this wide open.
Yeah, but then Spartans, they're also ready with their own Transcendence, so for any sort of aggressive moves being made by Claymores, they do have that Zenyatta right there just to pounce and provide that healing for the team.
Well, here's a self-destruct. Opening Gambit does take out the turret. Maybe not the most valuable target, but not a terrible start. Hammerfall has the Discord on them. Very dangerous position to be in. Bob right in the middle of the point. Self-destruct in over the back. Anything out of that? No, nothing. Does buy a lot of space, but Spartans are looking pretty much in control of the point as we see Heart singled out by Kotanks on the Torbjorn, and that is just going to be the rest. Oh! Interesting choice, Laserzen. Throws the Earth Shatter onto the point, but there's just not enough there to deal with follow-up.
Yeah, I really have to question the use of that Earth Shatter there, because while it was perhaps really good positioning, there were only 3 members of the team there, and I think it was maybe a panic, maybe okay, maybe I can turn things around here, but that's not the sort of decision making you want to be making in these situations when you have, well, they've got 3 minutes left, but the point is they want to be coming into these fights with as many ultimates as possible. That's the only reason they managed to win the last fight in Cap Point A. You can't afford to be wasting really key ultimates like that.
No, but interestingly, speaking of ultimates, Feasdog used their last ultimate to get Bob on the field less than a minute ago. Almost has their next one up here. Kotanks with the Molten Core. Once again, Hammerfall gets the better of Laser Zen, and we are going to see one more round of cleanup. 2 minutes 35 seconds left on the clock as Kotanks gets a lot of credit in that kill feed.
Yeah, using the Molten Core there, it of course stopped Claymores from being able to actually move onto the point, but it also meant that, you know, they could either soft reset or they could sort of wait for the Molten Core to go away, and in that time Spartans could deal quite a bit of damage into them, so that's going to have pumped up their own ultimate charges quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, Claymores, they've got things to work with. If we get Ben's Graviton Surge and we have Echoic Self-Destruct together in the right place with a bit of coordination, maybe this can be enough to do it. Oh, Earth Shatter coming in from Hammerfall. Nothing doing out of that, though, thanks to the boop that was put onto Lozenas that sort of went up into the air. Kotanks' turret, though, manages to get the opening kill in this fight. Echoic gets the equalizer, so not completely out of the fight just yet. No capture progress yet for Claymores, though.
Yeah, they do have their Transcendence ready to go, so of course I don't want to be seeing any more wasted ultimates, but they could be using this to actually give themselves the push that they need to make their next engagement. They have a minute and a half, so they don't have loads of time to play with.
And one thing I'm noticing from Claymores is they have a few players on their team who seem really reluctant to just die and go for the reset. So we lost.
Just die already.
We lost Bedorian a good 10 seconds after we lost the main bulk of the team, just because they were jumping around the point trying to keep it alive.
Yeah, and these are the things you have to look out for when you're playing in a team like this, is when you're supposed to be disengaging. And look at the Earth Shatter, Phil.
Yeah, it's a big Earth Shatter, but unfortunately the coordination was not there. Echoic Self-Destruct coming in too late. Feasdog gets a kill with Bob on the field. Molten Core gets thrown down as well. Nobody actually there to suffer too much from it, but with 40 seconds, less than 40 seconds left on the clock and no ultimates, this is looking pretty grim for Claymores.
Yeah, they pretty much have one more chance here, and they did, as you say, just use all of their ultimates to have a go at that last fight. It just didn't work out, and especially as Mr. Trix has got his sound barrier ready to go, he can just provide that shielding to Spartans very quickly, allowing them to take Claymores out, perhaps even before they can even reach the point.
Yeah, and Spartans were regressing a little bit there, taking a bit of early possession of that lane up to the point. They've backed off now. Laser Zen is going to have to charge onto point if they want to keep this alive. There we go. Overtime is going to start ticking down.
Oh.
We lose Laser Zen early in that fight, though. Kotanks comes in with the overload.
The hammer!
With the hammer, get the hammer
Let's
kill.
go.
Oh, not going to be enough as Kotanks gets the kill there, but with the turret rather than the hammer. Still, we can't have everything we like, can we?
Yeah, I suppose for Claymores that means that you just can't have the win.
No, that's unfortunate. So despite a very good run up until the semi-finals, that is going to be all that we see from Claymores as Spartans take that win and move on to our grand finals.
Yeah, Insomnia going against Saints, who they did face, of course, in the grand finals last season. Narrowly missing out to them, so this is going to have a lot of emotional weight.
Yeah, this is a real grudge match.
Imagine a lot of trash talk, I suspect. maybe not on camera or anything, but
it's going to be really spicy in that Discord. It's so spicy.
They're all going to be, I mean, for those of you who perhaps have never been to Insomnia, a lot of the people stay in tents in the NEC, in the convention center, so they're all going to be hanging out in their tents being like, saying a lot of naughty words.
Yeah, that's quite likely. I've spoken to some of these guys in the Discord, and yeah, you wouldn't want to hear them. You wouldn't want to have their mothers hear them talk like that.
Aww. But of course, massive commiserations there to Claymores. Just wasn't enough to be able to edge them into the finals there. So here we go. We can see our standings here from our playoffs. We've gone down from 8 teams to the final 2, with Saints and Spartans sitting there ready to take each other on April the 20th, I believe, at Insomnia Gaming Festival.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be a heck of a match. We've seen some some really incredible stuff from both of these teams in the past few weeks. So I can't wait to see what they throw at us next time we see them. But of course, this is not all that we've got for the Overwatch Arena Clash. We still have one more set of finals to show you. So next week we're going to be showing the Challenger final. So this is the division directly below our Champions bracket. So yeah, tune in, because despite the fact that they're not technically the same bracket as these guys we've just seen today, they are still very, very talented
Yeah,
players.
of course, and these are going to be the players who are essentially going to be going up to the championship squads when people start to depart. We've seen even this season a lot of people be promoted up into their championship team, so it's not something you're going to want to miss.
No. And, that's quite a nice clarion call for you. If you would like to get involved in any way at all, whether that's from our Challenger division, our Championship division, any of the divisions we've got, or even if you just want to come along and play with a group of like-minded people on our community nights or whenever you feel like it, then why not come along to your local belong.gg arena. So you can find those by, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you can see a little graphic saying visitors at belong.gg on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, pretty much any social media platform. We have a presence there. Come and find out where your local arena is and come down and get involved.
Yeah, we'd love to see you in the next season.
Absolutely. But from myself and from Gio, this has been all of tonight's belong.gg Arena Clash, and we will see you all next time.